Mewgenics, a game where you play as an asshole, surrounded by assholes, made by, you guessed it, an asshole. How else do you explain this random event that completely fucks over my run where I had no input on? Oh, also, the game contains cats. I know. Jokes aside though, this is a guide. At least tries to be. I can't exactly explain to you how to tune your build against your enemies if I can't mention the said enemies. So consider this your spoiler warning, viewer, it will be the only one you get. Now that that's established, Mewgenics is practically two games in one, a turn-based roguelite with cats and the world's most fucked up zoo tycoon simulator with extra steps. You can beat the game without interacting with the second game if you want, but as with every Macmillan game, RNG can and will screw you over even harder when you are already struggling. Choice is entirely yours, and I even made you a little slider to help. If you choose to not skip to classes and stuck around to watch Making Perfect Cats, congratulations! Here's your new room. Let's get you started. Alright, step 1. As every ambitious megalomaniac conqueror knows, you need more space than this to start your eugenics program. For that, you must give Edmund's barely disguised mummy issues turned in-game troglodyte with early onset coprophilia, and no, none of what I said is out of the lore, retard cats. You will ideally want 3 rooms, attic being the largest room will be for the cream of the crop retard cats with natural 7s and multiple stats, a second room for promising litter so they can potentially create more 7 stat kittens before you send them out on adventures to get them abilities you want them to pass on, and a third room which you will call Koncentrationslager. This is where the rejects will go. And since the PP Poo Poo Man takes any retard cats, you can just run the first area to quickly upgrade your house. Now that we have our house, we enter phase 2 of our project, furnishing. You can get these by taking the harder path and picking the moving box looking option on your path or buying it with money from God's strongest subscriber to NSSI. These come with various stats, so let's talk about what we are doing with them. There is appeal, comfort, stimulation, health, and mutation. You can literally hover over them to get the description on what they do, except comfort. Negative comfort will cause your cats to fight more often. So for the attic, focus on health furniture, which is rarer to give yourself ample chance to get that specific combination you want, then focus on stimulation so the chance of it happening is even higher. Then dump whatever else you can afford into comfort so your cats don't kill each other. Comfort will decrease as you have more cats in a room, so keep a close eye on it and don't go overboard with it like I did here. Once your perfect cats are set up, your second room will fill with a lot of cats that are not perfect but just enough to have a potential future. So you want to maximize comfort to make sure they don't start killing each other, followed by health, so in case you have like 50 of them piled up like I do, they get to live a bit longer while you send them out on adventures. Did you know North Korea built an entire ghost town with no residents next to South Korea just to try to entice people? That's exactly what we will be doing at our 50 by 50 concentration camp. You see, every single day a stray cat will attempt to join your household. Their stats and abilities are mostly randomized, but you can tip the odds in your favor that they arrive with one or even multiple max stats by placing a lot of appeal furniture in your house. Which room you put them in doesn't matter, so we will literally be gaslighting these cats by making them look at that squeaky clean shower just to close the door and turn it on once they get out. Now that we have a paradise for the upper echelon, hope for the clerk class, and a fresh coat of paint over the cat's right violation, we can begin our experiments. First of all, put cats with 7s and some stats in the first. If they don't have any, promote them to food gatherer, as this will be a lengthy process. Slowly work your way to 7 in all, if not most stats, focusing mainly on constitution, so even if they are not perfect, they can survive their adventure outside. Once you have at least stabilized your colony of perfect 7s, take a closer look to your cats. Notice how they start to look less and less like an average medieval peasant and more like royalty. As anyone with a layman's understanding of basic genetics can tell you, you committed incest and now have debilitating birth defects. Not to worry, as we have one more step left in our program. Count these items. While these fuck with your cat's stats during the run, their genetic perfect 7s is not affected, and we can override the birth defects with mutations, which grant you abilities or stats such as set target on fire or charm BDSM fetishist. So for the final step of our ascension, we will be shedding our mortal cat flesh and emerging as something unrecognizable. While you can have more than 10 mutations, anything above 10 will fade over time to 10. You know you have succeeded when your cat resembles a furry artist's recent commission more than it does a cat. just for it to be murdered next night by Fluffles, you son of a bitch. Listen, I'd hate to admit it, but this has happened to me where my perfect cats died to just random brawls overnight or grew too old without making an offspring that didn't subscribe to the idea of neonatalism. Next thing I will say may be controversial to you, but Mewgenics is a single player game. And you, hopefully a grown adult, watching this might not have time to spend 30 hours min-maxing something designed by a sadist. Or just don't feel like restarting after hours of your efforts dies to one RNG decision. If you agree with that statement, download this mod. And with it you can change any of your current cat stats in any way you want while giving it any mutations you also want. While you can go above what is possible in-game and make a cat that simply one-shots anything, I feel like that much defeats the purpose and takes out enjoyment from the game, but hey, you do you. It is your game where you are not competing with anyone else. And if you think cheating in a single player game to enjoy it is same as cheating in a multiplayer game, you belong in the third room, as I believe your intelligence stat doesn't fit the second room criteria. Now that I have potentially pissed off a couple people and finished the Zoo Tycoon part of the game, I think it's a perfectly reasonable time to say that these videos take plenty of time to produce, and biggest part that plays in it is morale. I know my videos are not perfect, but nothing brightens my day and motivates me to create these shitposts more than hearing it made someone's day better in a way. Did I make you laugh? Did something in the guide actually help you out? Or do you just wanna say hi for no reason? Use the comments even if it sounds like a cringe thing to do and interact with me. Like the video and subscribe. Something that takes 5 seconds for you, I promise, will make me push these videos faster and motivate me. Alright, sappy bat over. Let's get to the fun part of the game. For this part we will be going over each class, their potential archetypes, and since you can bring over passives and actives from other classes, any synergy that I have found between them. Keep in mind that this game is a roguelite. You will not find the exact abilities you want each run and might get one half of a build and another half of another build, and be forced to make the best of it. Prioritize what works on its own first and work your way from there.
I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
Have you ever worked in retail and it's 5 minutes before closing time just to have someone put an entire shopping cart's worth of garbage for you to scan? Thing you want to do to that customer is the gameplay of the fighter, up close and personal and extremely violent. However, to truly understand fighters' first archetype, we must go down to their level. Mugagrog, her Mugagagumo, Fumo Fug Og, Agbahu Baugog, Dapibog. Og puklu hagu ag u ogug du hog bu grogmo muk. Dapu do mugabu her pupigu du buhoba hubo. Agmo de du dopi. Ag buhogu gu a pupi uga gu muga buga grunduka pupi. Dur hermuk do bu herp mu dur duho.
I'm out of arrows. What?
I'm not even gonna sugarcoat or joke about it. Unless what you are fighting is literally immune to range damage, Hunter is the most broken class in the entire game, period. Do you see my house? Do you see the amount of Hunters up there? I have a lot of Necromancers because I love them, but Hunter is just necessary and not even for having a certain broken build, no. We got multiple and they all work well together, so you don't even get fucked over by fully committing to one. First of all, the most broken ability and passive in existence, which are must-have if you ever see them, Tower Defense and Sentinel. Did you think this game was a turn-based combat? Not for Hunter. If you had any knockback on top of it, enemies don't even get to have a turn. And if you didn't get any of them, don't worry, you can also always get Bullseye to never miss attacks again with 25% crit chance, Rubber Arrow so you can instantly kill multiple smaller enemies, Sniper which increases your crit damage to absurd degrees, and Can Stun which you can use with not one but 2 of your abilities that make a target not only take all critical physical damage, but also make it so the attacks can't miss and be a split shot. You see that boss over there? No you don't. If you don't have access to any of these, fear not, as you can become a mediocre summoner or bootleg knockback sentinel with traps. And since most of your things are just passive and not abilities you need to use except for Mark and Sentinel, you can just take any damage ability to add onto the amount of damage you can throw out. For what you can extract from Hunter to use in other builds, Tower Defense on Psychic or Mage with Magic Missile passive is global, and also moves them so they get hit twice in the case of Psychic. Any of the bottom of the barrel summon passives can be passed to actual summon spam builds. Sniper is good in literally any class that does damage, and Split Shot with Necromancer can do very funny things to big enemies. And Vile, Persistent Hunt, and Mark needs you to use them from range, as if you're a hunter, they can fit into just about anyone. Oh, also special mention to Catch Projectile. It has this fun synergy.
Sure you don't want to try my famous Rocco Grattan? It's organic.
While the tank does what you expect of the holy fuck, that's some good shit. You have this funny ability called Eat Rock. Not only can you eat every rock on the map as if the reason why not safe for human consumption exists on certain items, you can also petrify enemies to turn them into a rock, then eat them. Or better yet, eat enemies that are rocks. But if you're looking for other synergies, you can do your usual take anything with Thorns, Brace, and Block, so you can just sit in the front and tank damage. Or you can use this funny little item that turns knockback into damage instead and go all in on knockback. No matter what build you are going for, however, Hardy is a fantastic passive to pick up as it full heals you each fight, so you can just not care about running out of health as fights pile on. Knockback passives to add on to your knockback build's damage or follow up to do 2 attacks instead of 1 as well. For abilities to bring to your bloodline, Eat Rock works on some chapters or everywhere if you have petrify items. Hardy can be used to turn anyone into a tank, and abilities that stun are decent to have on a class with a bit more mana per turn. While I'll talk about what abilities to take out of your classes, I must specifically mention Blood Geyser with Hardy. With how much HP you can stack up, and with how much health you lose per fight not mattering, you can just get through basic fights with ease. You expected my forehead to inflate, didn't you? It would have if Mage wasn't just meet the potential class. Seriously, you have so many cool combinations of abilities, but you specifically need to get that specific archetype only, and nothing else can be used. That you either will get that combo or you don't. Aside from trying to get Magic Missile passive and Sentinel, just check whatever element you can go for with passives and actives. If they don't line up, try to scrunch whatever damage spells you can find or grab utility spells that either enable your other cats or disable the enemies. I don't have anything nice to say about Mage. If you're a Mage fan,
We can't expect God to do all the work.
damn, for a guy that hates religion, Macmillan sure did make Cleric stupidly powerful. Only important thing of note before you run them is that if you have any negative status effect on your basic attack from mutations, such as leeches my cats have, forget about using your basic attack to heal. You can only use spells from now on. Aside from that, Cleric is not exactly synergy reliant. You can pick just about any healing ability or buff for your team and every revives. Or go all in on holy damage and regular damage. Just about every passive works for either healing or damage builds, so you are pretty flexible on that as well. Side note here before we get to the funsies, if you ever get offered a way to cleanse debuffs, take it. It's not only useful for dealing with status effects on yourself, you can remove buffs from enemies as well, one of which kills a boss instantly. More on that later on encounters. You're also the master of kill tripping people with Thou Shalt Not Kill, which damages enemies that kill allies, which synergizes perfectly with literally any summon spam in the game, or as a passive to pass on to any cat you plan to turn into a summoner. For abilities to pass on, aside from the funny meme passive, all coin paste passives can work well with Thief, and all healing amplify passives are fantastic on Druid. Venerated Touch and God Warrior is also fantastic to throw on just about any frontliner. For actives, none of the spells actively work as a synergy with other classes, but they can all give you just something to do if you don't have much use for your mana, which can be the case if you get unlucky on abilities you get. You ever played Payday 2 with dodge build where you didn't get hit the entire mission just to go down on the first bullet of the next mission? That's Thief. They also have a very funny victory animation. Look at that guy. You will get a lot of movement speed to run around with, but unless you get a way to move twice or stack up a ton of dodge from abilities, which you might not be offered every single time, you are very likely to just drop on the floor if the enemies are not dead turn 1. Credit where it's due though, you can build a lot of status effects, be it via passives like Poison Tips or Razor Claws, then amplify it more with Double Throw, or just get it from actives like Sharp Nail or Poison Nail or even Poison Dip. While you do have multiple options to pierce and hit multiple targets, it's in a straight line. so it's unreliable at best of cases and hitting your allies next to the enemy at worst. I'll be honest, Thief for me usually just sits in the safest corner I can find and sit there so Loot Hoarder passive can earn me a lot of money to spend on things. For abilities you can snag to pass down, Loot Hoarder can allow you to dedicate money runs since you don't need to roll for the passive and plan ahead. Golden Claws can have a funny interaction with Butcher, and any passive that applies debuffs is great to have for my favorite Necromancer build. If you're wondering why Weak Spot or Critical doesn't get a mention, there are way better passives that do the exact same thing but better on Hunter.
Good day, I'm Bob the Necromancer, and today we're doing an unboxing.
Hey Weaver, please take a look at the lengths I have gone to explain classes and understand that Necromancer is my favorite class, so I will have the most to say about this absolutely broken bastard. First of all, I consider Leech to be the best debuff that does damage in the entire game. Not only does it hit at the end of your turn, so you can deal insane amounts of damage if you have a way to take multiple turns, it also heals you, which ends up forcing bosses to either kill you in one turn, or you healing back to full once you survive a couple of rounds. Oh, also it goes through barrier and holy shields as if that wasn't enough of a fuck you. I'll start out by explaining Leech with status builds. Numbing Leeches is my favorite passive to run with this, as it makes you only need Constitution, Wisdom, and potentially Intelligence if you didn't pick up Mana Leech. It also triples any status effect you apply with your basic attack, so any mutation that applies one status effect, that's 3 now. Any item that applies status effect on basic attack, that's also tripled now. This single goddamn passive has so many synergies that it's my #1 ability to hope to pass down. You can buff this further by Spread Sorrow to become a menace to everyone and not just one target. Leech Mother, which somehow makes you spawn 3 fucking leeches, so yes, that works too. Any other passive with status effect from other classes, and Feed to get +3 leeches per body. If you don't end up getting offered the said passive, fear not, as you have plenty of other options. You can use Blood Geyser with any way to heal to deal single target and if upgraded AoE targeted deletion of everyone. Giga Drain with enough mana regen to not only be unkillable but also deal very high damage per turn, which goes through any sort of armor. Leech Swarm for easy solo cat run, or one Necromancer with 3 hunters with catch passive run as a synergy. Rebirth to gain more sustain as the fight goes on, Soul Link or VR1 to turn most enemy spam fights into a joke, and Offload Pain passive with enough small trickle healing to just do about double your damage. If for some reason, however, you don't want any of these or are the unluckiest player on Earth, you can opt out for a summon build. Clue of Leeches can summon a leech on either side of the enemy, which can summon more than 4 on bigger enemies. Decompose, which can be combined with anything that summons corpses to summon more leeches, all of which can be combined with Replace to allow you to attack as many times as your mana can afford you to per turn. Especially with Leech Mother, or do the same synergy with Offload Pain to flood the map with leeches. This is all without considering the potentially most powerful summon spell, Eternal Servitude. This thing lets you summon any corpse as an ally on your side that joins you on future battles until they die. Let me say that again, any corpse, as long as the fight hasn't ended yet. This means any boss that can summon adds or has other enemies in the arena can be turned into a friend. You can also resurrect Hitler to fight God. It's great. Every other spell and passive can have an impact unless it synergizes with dying. More on that on encounter part of the video, not here. For things you can pass down, Vampirism can give heavy hitter sustain, Worm Lord can turn tanks into summoners, Soulbond works with just about anyone, Spread Sorrow also works with anyone that does a lot of debuffs, Prehistoric can likewise work with any healing spam build, the same as Offload Pain, Blood Geyser can be great on a tank with Hardy as mentioned before, and VR1 can be put on a high charisma cat with nothing else useful. Before we move on, don't bring Service Motem to final boss fight, you will regret it. Remember this.
I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
Hey look, it's Fighter but Mark Gross on tank here. No really, aside from having access to Hook by default that you can't replace, you pretty much play it like a fighter except for one big difference, you can hit diagonally. For archetypes, unlike Fighter, you don't really need to focus on acquiring certain abilities or health. Anything that does damage that you see on the screen right now is good. There is one exception to this, Crushinator. On stages with a lot of armored enemies, you want this ability as it stuns people. Aside from that, Binge gives you a lot of damage and tankiness. Swallow is a decent ability to bring if you have a way to heal, and Consume is fantastic to use right before the fight ends as a pseudo-thief. You may be wondering why the fuck should you pick Butcher over Fighter aside from survivability, since all these abilities seem to suck, and that's because of the passives. Any healing related passives are great as a synergy with other classes that can heal, and Hooked and Barb are very good for hook focused builds to kill multiple smaller enemies. For what to pass down, Binge is fantastic for frontliners, so is Chomp, and so is Delicious Scent. All fly passives are great for summon builds, while Rankle can turn any tank into a very high DPS build by round 2.
What is my purpose?
Repair items.
Oh my god.
Hey Weaver, it's me again. Can you guess which class is my least favorite? You're correct, hence why this part is about 30 seconds long. I hate Tinkerer. They feel useless except for giving you good passives to pass on for weapon builds, upgrade to make Druid a god, and spamming robots, mainly nurse bots, to survive certain fights. Mech Suit is pretty good though, can't lie. I do think however that an entire class shouldn't be reliant on one specific fucking spell to be good. Oh, there's also the repair cheese that you can do. Well, that one is definitely going away soon. Would you look at that, my second favorite broken class. Be aware before you do anything with this guy, your Sing ability will do any negative effect for your basic attack, which you can get from mutations and items. This also applies to your Crow as well, including even Soy Milk. For archetypes, it's very simple. You can just spam summons, which goes fantastic with 2-shot not kill, or simply pick the most broken passives in the game. We summon Crow upgraded, where you can summon another Crow just about every turn, then use Encourage to make them attack multiple times a turn. And even if you fail to get any meaningful summons, they can still absorb hits by being summoned in front lines. For other playstyles, you have form shifts. Mockingbird being my favorite as it gives all stats down to all enemies, which turns moderately tanky enemies into 1 to 3 HP nothings. Even better if you have a debuff like my cats do, which apply leeches so it can kill things in a big AoE. Tree form allows you to not only tank but grant everyone nearby a ton of mana once upgraded. I've heard a lot of praise for the squirrel form synergy with squirrels, and deer form is decent against non-bosses. For spells and passives to pass on, the Summon Crow will let any class turn into a druid if they have mana to spare, and Bloom can enable another cat if you want to focus a cat on just basic attacking.
What's the crystal ball saying?
It says you will die this Tuesday.
Today's Wednesday.
Oh shit.
Hey Edmund, do you just hate spellcasters or something? Only success I had with Psychic, aside from just giving 2 damage on infinite range, is bringing Hunter abilities so they globally attack anything that moves. Fast forward to support your team, Order, Mind Man, and Mind Control to either charm an enemy or give your alliance more turns. And there's also Become Entropy, which is quite decent, but I never got it. But anyway, all of the set spells can be passed down, but overall I find it better to grab passes, which give more impact when mixed and matched. Ever heard of dissociative identity disorder? That's Monk. Depending on what your team needs, you can tank with Way of the Turtle, Transcend, Unimpeded Lunge, Reverberate, Perfect Form, and Anneal. You will want Brickskin and or Jagged Edges for this to work well enough, although Monkey Style can grant some amount of tankiness. Be a sport with Bruce, or just the damage dealer by using combo attacks to spam more attacks per turn, or just use Empty Mind on a low hull targets group to run them through in one round. You can make these builds even dumber by getting Summon Apprentice and upgrading at first chance. For spells to bring, Empty Mind is fantastic on Fighter, especially with Stoop Zerg build, and Butcher, Brickskin, and Jagged Edges are fantastic on armor focused tanks. Mind Break is useful for mages, and even more useful for Necromancer with Numbing Leashes and Bloodgeyser or Drain. Running Jab is a fantastic on just about any melee class. They have 2 abilities, what do you want me to do? RNG Cannon is fun to use on my Luck build, and Luck passive is fantastic to pass on. With how much this game suffers from needing synergies to work, Jester will suck 90% of your runs. Okay, can I go now? Can we get to the encounter section? Remember how I just spent half of the video either talking down or glazing a class while giving probably very little information on some classes? Well, here is why. Mewgenics is a roguelite, where you don't get to decide on a perfect build. You gotta make do with 4 or more if you have reroll options that you're given. which obviously not only makes picking high value spells and passives that don't need synergies a better strategy, it can make certain spells and passives worth more depending on what you are going to be potentially fighting. This section will cover enemies, bosses, their weaknesses, and counters. I won't go into exact amount of enemies you will see or their exact health in every single part in each possible encounter because I'm not a fucking dork. So let's get to it with the super beginnings that most of you already beat before clicking on this video. Take your anger out on the commenter that didn't learn the first zone, not me. Elevate's highest health enemy, if not a champion, which we will cover after all the encounters, is a Tom with 15 health. So any ability that can allow you to hit multiple targets such as Pestilence, abilities that intackle targets such as Reap or Butcher, can speed things up if you are going through farming with hard cats. However, this chapter is so easy that you can instead focus on picking better abilities or synergies. For a more in-depth as you can get with little introductory enemies, Flies, Pinkies, and Maggots have 1 health. While Flea has 2 health, they will kill themselves on any of your cats, so you don't need to care about them if you have any frontliner. Little Rat, Kitten, and Water Kittens have 5 health, latter 2 running away after being hit, so one-shotting the latter 2 is better. This only leaves a tank here, with heavy quotation mark on tank here, enemies such as Mage, which has 7 health and can spawn more maggots, so either having an AoE or a 7 attack damage hit would be nice. Poodles with 6 health, but they are ranged enemies, so they can get piled on you with multiple of them if you're not careful. Cat collars, which inflict slow on your cats and run away when there are no allies left to protect them. Lumpy, which can spawn puddles when damaged with 9 health. And lastly, Tom-Toms with 15 health and cleaving attacks. But they can be outranged easily as they only move 2 tiles a turn. For who to resurrect out as pile of rejects, you will one-shot as soon as you have perfect cats. Tom can tank 1 or 2 hits, and cat collars can be a way to apply slow on enemies. And since they tend to stay away from the enemies, they can last for a very long time. And yeah, I'm going to get over them very quickly because these are literally the very basic enemies you will ever meet as an introduction. So moving along to mini-bosses. There are 4 mini-bosses themed after Mage, Hunter, Fighter, and Tank. Starting with the tank, Maisie spawns with 5 kittens, which she will swap places with to protect if targeted by any attack, and on her turn she will heal clans and give strength up to a kitten, while kittens are just, well, they're regular kittens. Once Maisie is dead, kittens will run away and vice versa if you manage to kill all the kittens. You can choose this fight with any amount of AoE to hit both Maisie and the kittens at the same time, which will kill the kittens, or use Reap on a kitten, which will make Maisie swap places with the kitten and die instantly. Since kittens only run on their turn, you can use Eternal Servitude on Maisie to recruit them if you manage to use it before they run. Hunter, also known as Fenrir, will spawn in a tile set with a lot of tall grass and throw traps on a random location on their turn, or rarely use a basic attack on one of your cats in range. He can walk on his own traps, and the set traps are invisible unless you have passives that allow you to see them. He also pushes you 3 tiles if attacked in melee. He can be very annoying against low moment lineup with no ranged, and even then, if you have a better lineup, tall grass grants 50% dodge chance, so hitting the fucker will be RNG if you don't have a solution. So either bring a way to replace the tall grass or just set it on fire to deal with the dodge chance, and use range attacks if you have it, or just stockpile on him before he gets to place too many traps. Depending on your lineup, this might be miserable or just a pushover, that's about it. Mage, also known as Lucy, will take 1 turn to prepare to cast a spell, and cast it on the next time she takes her turn. While her fire attack is sort of a simple damage spell, her Tandler has a chance to stun, while ice spells will freeze you for a turn. As long as you can dodge having to waste a turn on a cat, you can push for damage and kill her in a couple of rounds maximum. But if you have any repositioning ability to save a cat from getting hit or ways to disable her like a stun, that will help you take care of her easier. Finally, the fighter known as Magnus. He can use a spin attack to hit everyone around him and do a chain dash where he will dash to hit someone, then try to chain it to another cat and repeat it as many times as they can, keep dashing to a cat. Just standing in your tankiest cat while not lining up for chain dashes is more than enough to win against him in most cases. If you're struggling for health, any debuffs such as stuns, blind, or damage downs can help you significantly. Now finally, the bosses. Queen Hippo starts with 4 brace and 1 movement and loses 1 brace and gain 1 movement every round. If you are next to her when it's her turn, she will uppercut you back a tile and punch you back. And their attack also inflicts bruise. You have 3 approaches to this fight. If you wait until she runs out of brace, she will have a heart attack and instantly die, so you can just run away from her. Alternatively, you can cleanse her buffs which also makes her die instantly, with bloodletting. Or you can try to damage her through Brace and kill her. If you don't have heavy hitting abilities or a way to inflict bruise, that might be unlikely in earlier stages of the game when you don't have access to all classes and perfect cats. So it might be best for you to run to the edges of the map away from her if you are generally stuck this early into the game. Lastly, Radical Rats. He will place a bomb that will explode on a plus shape on his turn for 2 of his turns and hide in his bucket to not take explosive damage that detonated living bobs at the end of the round. Bombs have 1 health but will explode to fire damage, so any spell that can deal 1 damage at low cost that doesn't do fire damage will allow you to keep hitting him while dealing with the bombs. Since they only explode at the end of the round, if there is no fire, you can decide to either Valkar or AoE, destroy them, or just tank 10 damage per explosion if it's just a tank in the way. Overall, a pretty simple fight with one big difference. If it's raining, he will instead chuck the bombs at you like rocks, which deal 5 damage, so it will just turn into a damage race where your opposition is a lobotomite once you reach perfect cats. We are finally at the part where I don't feel like my advice is for a person running 4 paraplegic cats as a challenge and instead people who don't like reading enemy descriptions. Welcome back to Edwin's Barely Discussed Coprophilia. This level is filled with poop, sewer water, and sharks that can smell half the population better once every 28 days. For basic enemies, we still have Catcaller, Kittens, Water Kittens, and Pinkies from previous chapter. Alongside these, you have Dips, which are 1 HP nothings, and Floaters, which hit you and run away with 8 health, and to complete a shit trifecta, Pile, which stands still and summons a dip as an attack on a cat that also does 2 damage. These enemies are very simple to deal with. Hit the summoner first, then hit the rest of them. With good cats, it should take you 1 or 2 hits to kill. Real problem begins for new players when we introduce the sharks and their bleed mechanic. Baby Shark, Sharky, and Daddy Shark. Hey, look at that, 3 types again. 2 of them apply bleed on attack, specifically focus bleeding targets if they can, regardless of what team they are on, and take an extra turn for each bleeding entity, and yes, even inanimate objects can bleed. Don't ask. Baby Shark only applies bleed without dealing damage. Sharky does damage while applying bleed, and Daddy Shark, well, he just fucking kills you. If you have any source of bleed, you can make them attack each other. Just keep your ranged and whittle them down. Or just let them hit your tankiest cat to make it so they only get 1 extra turn per round. All of these strategies can work against the first 2 types, but against Daddy Shark, if you can make it to one of your cats, or anyone bleeding, he will kill them. Instantly. So you need to either bring someone that can hit for 28 damage or enough range attacks to kill before it can get to your cats. Other than the sharks, we also have fetuses. Thank you for the mental image of your fucked up sewer Edmund. Which heal if they are low on health or attack if they aren't. They're overall harmless on their damage amount and won't attack if damaged, so they can be saved for last. Gushu variant for fetuses, which can only attack on water with knockback, can be avoided until you finish every other enemy off or pushed out of water, or just replace the water tile with something else to stop them from attacking altogether. Which works exactly the same against Water Leech, who bounce out of water with a piercing line attack to heal itself and can only attack from water. Last 2 enemies are Gassy, who farts every time they attack, knocking itself forward, damaging people in the way, and poisoning anything behind it. This can and should be used to damage other enemies nearby and avoided by your cats. And lastly, Boomer, who explodes for, 5 damage while doing 4 damage. Which isn't exactly too high to care about, but just keep a mental note. For what to resurrect with Eternal Servitude, Daddy Shark is an obvious choice as he can one-shot bosses, but anything that puts bleed on your cats will make him eat you instead. Similar problem with other shark enemies as they can attack your cats if you are bleeding, and poop enemies leave no corpse. This stage also has harpoon hazards, which will shoot anyone that stops moving in front of it, enemies included. Let's get to the mini-bosses, starting with Flushmaster. First of all, if you have Scatological, it counts as a poop enemy, and any cat with it will fucking eat it for an instant kill. Aside from that, your cats will be pushed all the way they can towards the direction it is facing at the end of the round. Since the arena has sharp rocks, avoid those to take less damage and avoid having cats push into each other to avoid damage as well. Everything else is a damage race. If the weather is snowy, you will instead face a different boss all the way from Act 3, which we will cover once we get there. Second mini-boss is Rat King. He will run at your cats and toss them to random places in first phase while summoning little rats, and at half health he gets Brace 1, 3 damage, and 2 speed while also spawning Poops. Aside from just the regular rules of combat of put tanks in the front and deal damage, you can try to leave it close to half health before taking a high damage turn with abilities like Stakeout to skip the higher damage and Brace phase. As with all bosses with adds, you can resurrect him and all adds he summons will be on your side once he is in the different fight. For the final boss, it's Boris, an ugly, overgrown, disgusting fetus. If anyone watching this is named Boris, take it up to your parents, it's not my fault. He's a simple yet problematic for some builds type of boss. Every time you hit him, he moves 1 tile towards you. So anyone in melee range will be trading hits. Every time it's his turn, he will move 1 tile towards the closest cat except for his final turn, where he will dash towards your cats, dealing trample damage. Best counter against him is Sentinel or Tower Defense, which will hit Boris twice on your turn and once each time you move him under Hunter's range. More ways to move him, such as low mana, low damage abilities. If that is not available, however, half damage hits can help you minimize the amount of damage you take. Also, making sure you're not lined up for his dash trample attack will also lower the amount of damage you take per round. On the other side of the shithole, literally, is the spikiest trash yard in existence. Gimmick of this location is thorns, damaging creep, and glass on the ground, which only damages if you are attacked while standing on it. For enemies, we have returning faces such as the Fly, Maggot, Kitten, and Lumpy. Aside from there is Spike Cat, which has thorns, so using range attack is preferred, Glass Spitter, who shoots glass to apply bleed and place glass on the ground, Jekyll, who transforms into a demon you really don't want to deal with, so should be killed immediately, Siren, who works like a cat collar but instead forces you to move to hazards instead, Popeyes, which are tom-toms but more dangerous, Chumbags, which will stand around and spit at your cat, spawning a maggot. Very similar to Pile, but upon being killed, turns into a Chummy, which is also an enemy that can natural spawn at the stage. These guys dash at you, and that's about it. And finally, the piece of shit that wastes everybody's time, Count Lord himself, Host, who reflects all range attacks back while taking small damage, and also knocking everyone that attacks and melee attack back, while also having a cross attack that hits multiple targets. Truly, Edmund loves beating the dead horse of characters everyone hates so much that all I can hope is that it also reflects back and bashes his own head in with the baseball bat he is using. Eternal Servitude value-wise, snagging one of the Jekylls is useful for a while, and Chumbags and Hosts can live for a long while by simply not running at enemies with a dead fish. If you're wondering why I haven't gone in depth with these enemies so far, let's mention just the basic strategy of tank front, everyone else back works, and we'll do so for most of Act 1 and 2. Moving on to mini bosses, we have Trampy, the most random boss enough to put Arthur to shame, who we will get to later. He can fall asleep, drink some alcohol and gain dodge, scratch some fleas off of himself, piss on the ground, and overall be a boss that spends 90% of his time in the fight being a fucking clown. Best advice I can give is to wait until he spawns flares to kill him so you can resurrect that fucking clown on your side to have a laugh. On the way further side of the useless slider, we have Can Creeper. They can only be hit from the front in their first phase, but they only have 40 health, so just using marked and a high damage ability is helpful, while attacks that rely on hitting it from the back won't work, which is not a big problem unless you are using Thief, in which case, why are you playing Thief? Second phase is very simple. It has 20 health and can be hit from any side, but it will teleport to a random water spot and use a range attack. For the boss fight, we have Chubs and Nubs. They're quotation mark blind, which means they will attack random spots, so you can get unlucky and die very quickly, so it's recommended to save your even saves coming for here. When attacked, Chubs spits from the front, dealing 2 poison to whoever in front and do 5 damage, and moving to a random space and spinning on their turn. Nubs, on the other hand, will jump to a random space on their turn, dealing damage on anything they land on, and when they attack, they will do a lob on attack 3 tiles ahead, putting creep where it lands. Gimmicky part comes when you kill one of them. Chubs will attack twice on their turn, which I have seen, but somehow I have never seen Nubs' one, which apparently is them fucking exploding in 50 damage in anything with the line of sight. Realistically, you shouldn't ever have to deal with this phase as long as they are accidentally attacking each other. But should it happen for Chubs, keep your distance and use range attacks, while Nubs just be prepared to take cover behind something. As usual, one-hit high damage attacks will save you lots of hassle with not hitting your own cats, but since they can accidentally hit each other, it can also allow you to deal a lot of damage in them in form of friendly fire. Welcome to Caves. This is where all the enemies that were annoying but not annoying enough seem to have went. Gimmick of this place is fucking with your movement, spells, and attacks. This comes in the form of spider kittens throwing webs at you, which will eat up one basic attack per stack. Otherwise, you can get knockbacks, get set on fire, or be cleansed to remove all stacks at once. After you are webbed up, spider kittens will come in to hit you for 5 damage, which lifesteals them the exact same amount. They will start the fight with half health of 10 out of 20, so killing them before they can even get a turn, or at least culling the herd, is recommended. There is also Spider Cat, which skips the whole webbing part and immediately going for lifestealing with slightly higher stats. Keep in mind that after attacking, they run away as well. Any sort of movement debuff to stop them from getting to use their abilities, such as traps from hunters, stuns from other classes, or freeze, and any other form of restriction will help. Other form of movement restriction in enemy form you will run into is toadies. They will come over to you, hit you, then run to a random tile and disguise themselves as a random background object. Worst part is some of these enemies start to fight disguised. If you walk into a disguised toadie, they will instantly hit you, ending your movement, inflicting fear, which will make you waste your movement running away next turn. The best way to deal with them is using spells that hit the entire arena to both reveal and damage them, but if that is not possible, spells that can target any enemy and only any enemy will reveal while they are hidden as targetable areas, so you don't have to remember everything. Side note that summon allies that you don't control won't try to find and attack the hidden toadies. And for your spells, there's Brain Drain. Starting round 2, first spell you cast that round will be nullified, forcing you to have a cheaper spell to not lose too much mana and still get to cast your abilities, or outright killing them on round 1. If you try to outsmart them by not casting a spell, they will get an all stats up and have a global range, quickly gaining 4 health per turn and dealing more and more damage. And lastly, enemies that mess with both your basic attack and spells, bats. Not only do these fuckers run away after getting hit, they have a 50% dodge chance and inflict confusion on hit, which has a 25% chance for your cat to hit itself equal to their strength. Aside from using Thorns, which will make a quick work of their multi-hit attack, or Mark to make sure they can't dodge, you just need to hope you get lucky on the coin flip to hit them. Their health is pretty low, so you don't have to worry about having to hit them more than once or twice. Moving on to the rest of the less annoying enemies, Albino Tom is just a tankier Tom. Same fetus enemies exist here too. Cobby, who's sucking cats, then toss them to another side. Mega Fetus, which attacks the side with their big arm when they're attacked. Skull Ooze, which can destroy equipment on hit. As scary as that sounds, keep in mind, this can also destroy cursed equipment. If you have some broken item combination, just don't get close to them. These enemies usually spawn in groups of 1 or 3. So killing one once they are close and repeating the process, or just not sending in the cat with good equipment in will help you keep your things. And lastly, we have Spiderlings and Tentacles. Tentacles can only hit if you are near water and exist on a water tile, while Spiderlings are similar to fleas, but instead they also inflict infested, which makes anyone with it explode into spiders as much as the debuff count. You don't want your cats going down in these fights, as they will be permadead. So just play it safer or use any AoE or low cost attacks to kill them. Or just use cleanse. For what to use Eternal Servitude on, you can grab the tankier Albino Tom-Toms and Mega Fetuses for frontline tankiness. Brain Drain to cancel certain spells. The game is very, very bad at explaining what they do as a spell and what they do as an attack, so keep that in mind. Mainly the final boss of next chapter is certain abilities count as spells. Or Spider Kittens to have the VF debuff on your side. Moving on to bosses, there's only one. Big Slime. Think of it like a Minecraft slime but less child friendly. No, not that child unfriendly. It splits into 4 smaller slimes, and those slimes also split into another 4. They do ridiculous low damage compared to even previous chapter bosses, so simply putting your tank in the front and damaging it should work well enough. If struggling somehow, you can use Soulbind AoE or abilities that hit more than one target like rubber arrows will help you out a lot. Smallest slimes have 4 health, so any ability that can insta-kill 4 health targets can help out, as well as using Pestilence into Butcher. Finally, the final boss of this chapter, Spinneret. And no, I'm not making the same joke Edmund did. Summons many spiderlings whenever she is damaged. Avoiding infested is just about impossible here, so I heavily recommend not planning for cleansing and more so focusing on having no one go down. Aside from that, she will go out of her way to web your cats alongside summoning spider kittens who will do the same. So either relying on your spells and not basic attacks and movement is recommended. If not possible, Setting things on fire or having a mass knockback can also help, such as Druid's Crow or colorless fire abilities. Now that web part is sorted, let's get the rest of her abilities. Her bite attack hits everywhere in front of her for 10 damage, so you should avoid placing your cats in a way that would get more than one of them hits, and if it also kills something, it removes them from the fight. She will sometimes leave the arena to spawn spider kittens, returning to the arena as soon as you kill one or at the end of the round if you fail to do so. And like the loyal housewife she is, hitting her from the back will enrage her, increasing her damage and speed while spitting more webs from her ass, which will likely hit whoever hit her back, with the small upside of not leaving the arena. For pro tips on what to do aside from relying on spells more, she has 250 health, which is a lot for this stage of the game, especially when juggling all the bullshit she's throwing at you. Having 1 or 2 big marked into focus damage turns can help you kill her in a couple of rounds, or have a build with a lot of damage in the form of poison, fire, or leeches will make it a lot easier, as she will continue taking damage when she's not in the arena. Aside from that, abilities that benefit from killing a low health target, such as passives that grant stat ups or buffs on kills, Butcher or Necromancer Leech Farm will Immortal Leeches can take advantage of this. If taking advantage of the deal damage when she is away tricked, you can most likely get her with Eternal Servitude before the spiders she summoned runs away. Welcome to my least visited area, Weaver, just because of the bitch that is at the end called Dickbug. We will get to them later. First of all, breaking tombstones can cause ghost enemies to spawn, so anything gyrating and breaking random garbage should be focused down first. Those tombstones will mark with a rip. If it's marked with a skull, it will instead summon a zombie kitten, and if it has a weird eye, it will instead steal all of your mana when you end your turn. With that, let's get to the basic enemies. You have your usual flies, fleas, maggots, and spider links from previous chapters, zombie kittens which are less powerful than regular kittens until they find and eat a corpse, wisps which have a 100% dodge chance on first attack but have 1 health, so anything that's guaranteed to hit or hits multiple times will make short work of them. Skeleton Cat and Tall Skeleton Cat both have the same gimmick of 0 health and high shield, and requiring you to kill their corpse when down, so they don't revive when it's their turn. Since they have no health, anything that pierces through a shield, such as Thieves passive, leeches, or marked, will make end damage kill them on both down and normal status. You also have Spooky and Scary. They both teleport, usually behind your cat, and one with its tongue out will drain a ton of mana, while the other one can either inflict fear, which is annoying, or doom, which will kill you in 3 rounds. So it's recommended to not break the ghost tombstones and kill any that natural spawns, as they practically have infinite range and very annoying debuffs. We have robes, which will turn into tatters when killed, each having high shields and low health on robes, and only 1 on tatters. They will try to lifesteal with leeches, so again, anything that pierces shields such as leeches, thief passives, or marked will make short work of them. You have Bearcats, which will either use a dash or swipe attack with similar health to a Tom-Tom. Ranged or usual tankiness will be enough to deal with them. Reaper, who just teleports and attacks while getting an all stats up whenever you kill an enemy. They should be the first or baited close to where your cats are by killing whatever enemy is closest and taking care of them. We lastly have Butt Zombie, who either farts on you for poison damage or attacks by digging into the ground, and Grave Worm, who does the exact same fucking thing but ranged while running away after getting hit. But we also have Shambler. They just grab and throw whatever is closest to them, but in all honesty, areas they spawn in are usually where they are alone near some ghost tombstones, so you could rush them down, or with low health enemies where you can either rush them down if you have too much melee cats, or take your time taking out the lower health targets if you have enough range. Moving to mini bosses, we again only have one being Mama Maggot. Her entire shtick is summoning regular maggots, then buffing them and giving them extra turns. She also runs around and tramples over things, and you guessed it, Arena has a fuck ton of ghost tombstones. Your game plan should be managing the maggots before they are upgraded, as they can teleport around or trap your cats with objects on all 4 directions that have thorns on them. Any AoE trivializes the fight, as maggots on their base form have 1 health while mutated ones have around 10. You should also move your cats away in a manner where there are no tombstones between you and the Mama Maggot. She has no attacks of her own aside from measly trample damage, so if you can keep the ads in check, this fight should be a nothing difficulty. If you have Eternal Servitude, you should resurrect her, as not only can she mutate your own maggot summons, she can also give your cats extra turns with her Really Maggots buff. Now let's get to the final boss, the piece of shit everyone hates so much there are multiple fanarts of his suffering. Cockbeetle. He backflips to another tile if he can whenever you target him, summons wisps, and lastly, once quotation mark killed, will possess whoever hit it last, who you will need to down. Not only does that mean you need to forcefully take a -1 stat and reheal a cat to full, you also need to potentially deal with your best solution to the problem, who probably will have AoE or something insane. If you are doing a solo run, do not worry. If your only cat gets possessed, you will take 15 damage and vomit him back out. Now, how do we deal with him? You can corner him, so he can't backflip, but he will dodge out of the corner on his turn. You can spam AoE spells so he can't dodge, or force him into debuffs such as traps or stuns. Once he starts getting low, you can focus on trying to land the finishing blow with a sport cat or summon cat such as Zombie Kitten to force him to possess a summon. Note that this only works on cat summons. Then down whoever they possess and deal a singular point of damage. Reason why so many people refuse to pick this pad is both from the fact that you need to down a cat most of the time, how annoying he is, and also how he can potentially end the run via crit at a bad time to throw your calculations off. I genuinely don't recommend picking this pad unless you are trying to get unlocks. Welcome to the final chapter of Act 1. I expect you brought good cats with you, as this chapter only consists of 2 annoying fights then a boss. For enemies, we have the same fuckers from Boneyard miniboss of maggot types and maggot itself, Fleshy Mind who can lock away a random spell from cats, which I generally recommend focusing down first, Stam Cat and Meat Slime, which spawn Clawed when damaged and killed respectively. Clawed Stan will try to run away and try to regrow into more Stam Cats. If you have a lot of small chip damage, using it on Stam Cats can result in you being overrun, so save high damage one hit abilities once you start tackling them. Skinned and Fleshlat, who serve as a tanky frontline where you want to try to save them for seconds last, although Fleshlat gains another attack every turn so it can't take too long to do so. Throbbing Servant and Throbbing Turret, which should be focused down first, with Servant being a very big focus, as it can not only summon maggots, it can destroy your equipment and replace it with parasites. That's about it though. With enough AoE to wipe the groups clean, or enough single target to get rid of Servants and Fleshy Minds turn 1, you should be fine to face Throbbing King, who really looks like South Park characters in that one episode where their testicles grew very large. Throbbing King is deceptively easy with 2 phases. Phase 1, he will both use a reskinned web attack Spider Kittens use that also inflicts slow 2, a vomit rain which summons a whole bunch of random small enemies everywhere, followed by an area-wide attack that he will prepare at the end of the round. This usually kills the ads, so you don't need to worry about them. Next round, he will always take his turn after all your cats and force you to move to a safe space from his final attack or take 16 damage, which is by this point negligible for most tanks and possibly to tank once or twice for the rest. You should still try to make sure your tank is the one taking the initial slow to make sure your squishier cats can make it to safety. As long as you can keep dodging the marked tiles, you can whittle them down over time, but since you are limited to 10 rounds plus whatever adrenaline will give you, you shouldn't get that comfortable. Make sure you are stacking debuffs, high damage spells, or marked. For the second phase, his balls will explode, literally, and he will become a 1-tile large enemy that will dodge after getting hit. His attacks will also shift to a line attack that applies bleed and shitting out a clot. Yes, literally. Bleed and damage from it can definitely stack up, but clots can be mostly ignored as they will not only run away after the fight ends, you ideally want to finish the fight before they even manage to grow up fully as well. As with usual, high damage abilities or very high range to land multiple hits when it runs away is essential to this. And as usual, Hunter with Sentinel Plus or Tower Defense Plus is the best thing to bring, as you can double your damage on your turn, while still getting an attack off from your other cats as he runs away. If you plan to farm Throbbing Domain, considering everywhere else where these 2 abilities were useful, I would recommend breeding cats with at least one of these and bringing them on a ranged damage dealer. No, I'm not forgetting about any fat fuck. Those are later, don't worry. First and foremost, welcome to the point where fun dies if you haven't decided to breed good cats yet. Get to that before complaining that your pathetic pussies are unable to do what my perfect puss can do easily. You will. Desert has permanent heat wave unless it's snowing or raining, which you can force by observing the weather outside your house. Heat wave removes healing at the end of the fight while also making all heals heal for half the amount. So you should ideally bring items or abilities that can inflict wet, buy water bottles which offer an easy way to carry water, and break cactuses in stages which can fill them. Get this fantastic mutation I have that just ignores heat wave debuff, or just bring cats that can kill things without taking much damage, if any at all. For enemies of this stage, we have some fuckers from previous act being flays, flies, housts, maggots, mangies, popeyes, both skeleton cat types, spiderlings, tom-toms, and the mutated worm you saw in Throbbing Domain and Boneyard miniboss. Not only do you know how to deal with these, they should be a joke to your current cats. For new enemies, you have Baby Death Worm, which is basically a harpoon trap that runs at you instead, so you have to either take the set damage or to attack, or attack it sideways. Death Worm, which does the exact same thing but can burrow into the ground and insta-kill anything that stops on it when burrowed. Fly Swarms, which only take 1 damage per attack except for crits, which do 2 while doing damage 1 times equals to its health. Obviously being very weak to multi-hit attacks. Carcass, which just spawns maggots over time and should be focused on first. Horny Cat, and yes, you guessed it, the name comes from the horn it has, you fucking degenerate. That just attacks in ranged and applies blind. So anyway around mischance can help, although it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Rattlesnake, which is like a maggot that applies poison. If you're struggling against a 2 HP moron that does no damage at this point in the game, I don't know what to tell you. Go away. Bone Worm and Skeletal Shambler, which act exactly like their Boneyard fleshy counterparts, while working the same as other skeletal enemies, which need to be destroyed after being down to be truly killed. Momfight Mangi, which works the exact same as regular Mangi but turns into a carcass while killed. Scorpion Cats, which can immobilize their target and apply poison while also having half shield and half health, making attacks that hit through shields a one-shot even on mediocre abilities. Pishi, which can't be attacked in the front, who attacks anything and buffs itself once it does kill a target, and Tomp, which can only be damaged from the back. Either of these enemies shouldn't give you trouble if they are focused down in a turn, but you obviously can't bring Fighter's Crit from the front ability to cheese these things. For our mini-bosses, we have 4 new cats that represent the classes. Dak being the thief who gets a backflip each time they pick up a coin, sort of like a weaker dick bug. There are no coins in the arena at the start and they make you drop coins when attacking. While it's a cool design at this point of the game, you should have enough stats and abilities to just roll through him. If he gets dodge, force him to move with your weakest attack, and then use your higher damage attacks when he can't do so. Marshmallow, who is bane of Solaron's existence, starts with 2 holy shields and can gain more while also applying charm on anything she hits. Thing that kills Solarons is that if your last cat standing gets charmed, they will fucking run away with her. Not only causing an instant loss, they will also show up next time you fight her as an ad. Some higher difficulties can give her impossible to win against their own Solarons, such as speed. As usual with enemies that have shields or holy shield, abilities that can pierce through such as marked and passives or status effects spam can help alongside with abilities that can make it so she is unable to reach anyone in the form of slows, stuns, or traps. Aside from that, multi-attacks can make short work of her holy shields. If you're lacking on that front. Marana, which is a Necromancer, spawns in an arena with a ton of corpses which she will try to revive while also digging out more corpses over time. All while not only inflicting leech on your cats, but can also revive on any corpse, your cats included, in a range of 3. How you approach her is dependent on what you currently have. Any ability that can get rid of bodies quickly, such as Pestilence, or other AoE abilities that focus on specifically destroying corpses, such as Desecrate or Necromancer abilities, can neuter her entire gimmick aside from trying to spawn more corpses. If you instead have a very high damage and or focused movement abilities, you can force her out of reach of corpses and kill her so she can't resurrect, skipping most of the annoying mechanics of the fight. And lastly, the most forgettable one, at least for me, Gind the Butcher. He works like a harpoon, where if you end your turn in a cardinal direction of them, they will hook you. Their basic attack is a cleave, and any damage you take either spawns a meat or a scrap depending on what got damaged, while also moving over to the pickup to get more sustain. I don't have much of an advice to give for this guy. He's kind of a pushover that can just be overwhelmed with damage even with 4 melee cats, but if you really want some sort of cheese, they pick up anything including rotten meat. If you somehow have a way to spawn that, you can use it to poison, but that's about it. Moving on to bosses, we have Gambit, who's again sort of a pushover, so I won't go into detail on how to defeat them, but explain what they do nonetheless. On their turn, they will throw a dice and then try to hit the said dice to try to get a higher number until their last turn of round, in which case they will do the following depending on what roll from 1 to 6, or hit themselves if they weren't allowed to use a dice due to stuns or similar. 1 inflicts Confuse on Gambit, 2 spawns a Poop, 3 fires 5 laser beams in a straight line, 4 causes an Earthquake which inflicts bruise in all diagonal directions, 5 does a Storm attack in a 5v5 diamond shape, which stuns, and 6 explodes random parts of the map, dealing 10 damage and causing burn damage similar to Rat Boss. You can hit the dice to change the value yourself, or you can just focus Gambit down before they either get a turn or get 2 turns. Lastly, we have the freak you saw on the cutscene, Zodiac, who has 6 shots on their revolver and will shoot someone or reload if they are empty on their turn, and try to shoot someone when they move even if there are things in the way, potentially wasting the shot. If you have tanky enough cats, you can just dogpile on him and take him down quickly as he's not very tanky, or just bait the first 5 shots into objects, force him to shoot the last bullet instead of reloading, then dogpile him before his turn as he can't shoot you with an empty revolver. Hey look guys, palette reference, ho, I should make a video on one of those to completely lose track of what my channel is supposed to be. Anyway, Heatwave is no more and you fucking failed them. Let's get to the recurring enemies. We got Spiderling. Yeah, that's it. Enemies here go into 3 categories: robots, cultists, and Atomic Kitten. Atomic Kitten has multiple holy shields and 1 health. They teleport away when hit and blow up when killed. Honestly, just hit them with anything that bypasses shields. Bleached, Mark, and similar are your friends. For cultists, we have cat cultists which attack more times the more they are hit, and they hit themselves. Cultist zealots, who hit themselves each round and gain a damage up and enter a suicidal state for 30% health, blowing up on dead and actively trying to blow themselves up. These 2 are Berserker archetypes. You can quickly work them down if there are no other big threats, but it's fine to leave them for a round without causing too much of an issue. Continuing on the cultist tree, we have cultist mutants, which are just tanky and do area damage and turn into a very weak add, florb or blorb, both of which pretty much do the same thing, with very little health. Cultist Bishop, which there will be at max 1 in any given map, heals allies, gives them damage ups, uses electricity to potentially stun your cats, and not only has Holy Shield, but also has kinetic spikes. These guys should be your top priority target, and you should bring things that can pierce through Holy Shield as usual, since using multi-hit will reflect damage back at you. Upon that, they drop a Bishop hat. What does that do, you may ask? Well, let's take a look at the next cultist enemy, Cultist Lackey. These guys will spawn in massive groups, and they are the basic main enemy in this area. When they kill an enemy, they turn into a cultist zealot. When they get mutated, they turn into a cultist mutant. And when they pick up a bishop hat, they become a cultist bishop. Whenever these guys are present, look for a bishop hat. If there is none, check for anything that can cause mutations. Puddles of radioactive trash on the ground and atomic kitten attacks are the main candidates. And since they can turn into zealots quickly if you rely heavily on low health summons, don't go here unless you also have Thou Shalt Not Kill. Now for the robots, as usual, they have massive amounts of shields, so as usual, bring piercing abilities that do a lot. See, back to why I called Hunter the most broken piece of garbage. You have Lawbots who heal allies or give them an extra turn if they are at full health, which should be focused down immediately if there are too many enemies. Security bots, which move to enemies that damage an ally, even if it's not their turn, making Sentinel or Tower exceptionally good against them. Robocats, which are just tanks you can ignore until you deal with everyone else, and lastly Killdozers. These guys usually spawn with only 1 and away from enemies. They have Brace and Thorns and act like Porous. Again, using range and piercing attacks will make short work of them, even with their tankiness, and you can leave them for last. Moving to mini-bosses, we have the exact opposite of the Necromancer mini-boss, Bumblefoot. They eat corpses in an area filled with said corpses, and once they run out, it will eat your cats for an instant kill. Their attack order is jumping to a tile and damaging everything in it, using a random AoE attack near your cats which inflict bruise, and lastly eating a corpse or a cat if there is nothing left. If their body is exposed, they will inflict poison near them when hit. I never ever had an issue against this guy, but many people on Reddit seem to disagree, so I will do my best explaining what to do. Do damage. This guy is a massive DPS check. Ever played an MMO against a boss eventually that just kills everyone instantly if you are taking too long? Yeah, that's this guy. Damage him every time you get a turn instead of trying to set up stuff or recover from a previous battle. Leave corpses alone and you should be okay. If you were unable to kill it in time, don't worry. You shouldn't have made it this far with whatever low stats or bad decisions on ability and passive picks you made on with your cats anyway. Teemo, you might be saying, you're being too mean to me. And to you, Weaver, I say, I'm preparing you to fight God. There are no mistakes allowed aside from me, as my parents remind me often. Other mini-boss is Lenny. They will fall in love with a random cat in your party at the start of the battle, which they will show you with a speech text with an image of the cat in it. They will then try to run at the said cat and hug them to death. Just buying time by moving your chosen cat to the opposite side of the arena and using debuffs that slow him down can allow you to kill him before he even gets to do anything. And even if you're unable to do so, don't worry, he hugs them to death in the form of 3 damage, which is very little at this point of the game, and you have plenty of time to finish him off. You can also struggle off of him at 25% chance, but deal damage to yourself if you fail to do so. Also, he counterattacks on melee hits, but that shouldn't be that big of an issue to you, since by the time he grabs your chosen cat, he should be only a round dish away from death. What is this cult even about? Is it about being in your underwear? Anyway, here's the last cultist, the leader, Johnny. They have a gigantic fucking head, and they need to be washed at all times by cultist lackey to even do anything. He either reanimates a dead lackey nearby or summons more, who will then ignore anything and try to rush to wash him, and start with one guy already washing him. Just what sort of a homoerotic cult are they running here? I will never understand, but that's besides the point. Johnny can do one of 4 things if he's being washed. A knockback attack on area 1, grabbing one unit with his mind and hitting it to another, a higher damage knockback attack on area 1, or lastly, the worst, charm an enemy. Charm specifically can ruin all of your plans in one turn, so making him subscribe to the Redditor ideology and staying unwashed is our strategy here. Step 1. Kill the initial lackey immediately. Step 2. Use summons or cats to block the way to Johnny to stop new lackeys from getting to him. Step 3. Beat the ever-living shit out of him. Step 4. Realize that the lackeys didn't really appreciate your liberal administration of domestic abuse to a special needs child. Step 5. Kill them too. Remember, Weaver, murder solves most other problems, and you better agree with me, you little Welcome to the part that inspired people to ask why their cat has madness for no reason. Unlike previous areas, you will immediately fight the mini-boss, so let's get to them first and get to the enemies. Rocky Bobo is a joke of a mini-boss that either slams in the direction they are facing or levitate rocks to make them throw themselves at you. There isn't much to say aside from the fact that he is made out of rock, so you can just fucking eat him as a tank. Otherwise, try to move little to not have the rocks get thrown at you and DPS him down. Very simple guy, I like him. Infested Pair on the other hand has 2 thorns and there is 2 of them. Hence the pair. Pay attention. And every time you damage one, they will spawn a sprout which will give them an extra turn per round per plant. This can get out of hand very quickly, but they have 1 health, so Pestilence, Butcher, and any decent AoE works. And Sentinel and Tower Defense treat spawn enemies as moved enemies, which can also make quick work of them. Aside from that, they have little HP, so just DPS them down, and as unreliable as elements are, fire can help a lot here by setting everything they have on fire, since they spawn plant tiles as they move. Quickly racking up high damage over time, which will hit them each time they take a turn. Basic Pokemon type advantage and all that. With that done, let's get to the enemies. You have your amoebas and amoeba-like enemies. Amoebas will try to grab rocks and gain equal amount of shield of rock health, and if there are no rocks available, attach themselves to your cats as cursed items on body slots. And if you get 3 of these, your cat will have permanent madness. You should prioritize killing these bastards and anything that can spawn them as number 1 priority. Killing them before they can pick up a rock is preferred, but if not possible, you should consider attacks that pierce armor to kill them, as they can pick up another fucking rock next turn. Also, if you manage to get them on your side, they can turn rock enemies into shields. This includes bosses. Next up, we have Hemlock, who sorta just runs away and uses range attacks at poison while healing enemies. Nothing important. Bramble Baby, who just teleports around, spawns brambles, and pulls your cats in like harpoon hazards. Bird Fort, who dashes in an area with trample, shooting a rot inflicting shot on both sides when hit and also healing allies nearby and itself. Nettle, who has thorns and sprouts, who make more tiles for Carnival to move on to. All of these enemies are low priority as they don't really heal much for the stage of the game that you are at, and are generally low threat. This all changes with Carnival, with stronger, higher priority than Amoeba if you are forced to be attacked by either. They insta-kill with their melee attack and can move to any bramble tile, either kill them before they can take a round or stay well away from any bramble tiles. On the other end of the plant spectrum, we have rocks. Guess it makes sense, shut up. We have Tremolo, who eat rocks, your cats included if they have the rock passive, and can also be eaten by your tanks. Basically a war competition. Geolad, who sorta just move at you and dash, pretty negligible except for a low stun chance and can also be eaten. Traitor Creeper, which is just the same mini-boss from Junkyard but eatable on phase 1. Rockhead, who are just tanky slow enemies that turn into headless, which are the exact same as mini version of Junkyard's boss, and lastly Infested Kittens, which inflict possessed on melee. Overall, these enemies are very unfun to deal with in melee, so bringing range options alongside a tank with each rock is very reliable. For the final boss, we have Crater Maker. Each time you hit them, they will shoot attacks from their sides and will change what attack it will do on their turn. The smallest attack, which is a front of them, can instantly kill a cat or anything in front of it. As complicated as this boss sounds, the way to deal with it is pretty simple. Place 1 or 2 melee cats next to the mount in a diagonal tile to avoid being eaten, and have the range behind them while just damaging it each turn. Yes, it sounds like a gross oversimplification, but at this point of a run, you should have enough damage to just deal with it in a few turns. Welcome to literal hell. What's next? Heaven? Haha. The stage is mostly about fire debuff and enemies that damage others for more turns. Demon enemies include Brute, who will kill anyone below 50% health, and either throw a rock or punch nearby enemies with a chance to stun. Keeping your distance and converting them via Eternal Servitude, or even just charm them so they insta-kill low health targets. Bosses included Hot Pokers, who can self-harm allies to give them an extra turn, apply immobile and burns on your cats. They usually spawn near troublesome enemies, so picking between either nuking them or enemies nearby should be your number one priority and decided depending on how much damage you can do. Cloak Demon, who just applies an AoE that heals and gives damage up to allies and puts burns on enemies. Decent target if other demons are dead. Lastly, Belcher and Chain Demon, who spit fires and pull you into the fires respectively. They spawn on the other side of the arena, so they can be ignored if you position yourself well to avoid having a cat or two dragged into lava. We also have humanish enemies. Core Freak, which is just a slightly stronger cultist that can rarely stun. Mega Tumor, which moves slowly with trample and apply bruise, and Immobile, which can be ignored till last. Tal Tumor, who drains mana once you end your turn, who should be killed immediately if you have no reliable way to spend your mana. Tumor Cat, which is a generic slightly tanky enemy that can also be ignored. Tumor Head, which is in a similar position, and lastly Whisperer, who can buff allies and debuff enemies while charming enemies if melee range. They can be ignored as last unless you have to get into melee near them. Mini-boss of the area is Cerberops, basically a buffed up version of Junkyard boss while having the enrage ability from the spider boss. They shoot lava from their neck when damaged, so you should attack them from sides, and they should go down in a few rounds. Same as Junkyard boss, it can do a spin attack or spin in a direction, however they will take 2 turns to do so, and give you a chance to dodge it. And lastly, if you enrage them, they will throw away a cat away, dealing 10 damage and healing for 10. Final boss is a 2-parter. Fight will start with Coven, who will summon the main boss after 5 turns, not rounds, turns. On their second turn, they will summon Frogs, Flies on third, spend random projectiles on their 4th turn. You can either focus and kill Coven if you have very high damage cats, or focus on the candles around the arena. Candles are immune to status effects and have 50 health, so leeches and similar won't do anything, but can also be extinguished with wind or weather abilities without needing to kill them. Coven will light up all candles on their turn except for the 5th, where they will summon the next boss and ignore lit candles. If they do so, in comes Tormentor, who will eat the Coven, then absorb each lit candle to gain powered abilities. Here is what each candle does. It doesn't really matter because we will be extinguishing most of them. Tormental itself can do a slam attack with mediocre damage or try to eat anything in a cone, requiring 2 turns to set up, and its other 2 abilities that come from candles as mentioned above. Overall, Tormental has significantly less health than Coven and moves around, so your usual Mark, Sentinel, Tower Defense abilities and anything usual will work, allowing you to make short work of him in 1 to 3 rounds. Just pay close attention to dodge the insta-kill attack, and if you destroyed even just half the candles, you will be fine. Don't think too much into it, it's gonna get a lot weirder. Welcome to Mare Lamento, the Moon. Entirety of Moon is affected by low gravity. This means stuff does knockback by default and can do more knockback, and projectiles and throws have more range. We also have Black Hole that will pull everything into it and destroy them if they make contact, so those should be avoided, and lastly Neutron Stars, which have a 50% chance to explode and do 10 damage to everything in sight, then turn into a black hole afterwards. For enemies, we have small and big asteroids, both of which can take 1 damage max from an attack, have shields higher than their health, so they can be bypassed by piercing attacks as usual. Especially small asteroids with its measly 1 health can be killed even with leeches easily. That being said, you can just fucking eat them with each rock. On more mechanical side of things, we have Saucy and Mega Saucy. Both of these have holy shields and regular shields. Saucy is able to inflict mark, gain more holy shields, and generally be a nuisance, while Mega Saucy has an instant kill charge attack. Not only should these guys be your first targets, you should definitely bring piercing attacks as both of them have a measly 6 health, dying to even base stat cats if they could pierce through. Necromancer, Thief, and Hunter specifically are your friends here. If you don't have that luxury, however, you should still use multi-hit attacks to tear through holy shield charges, otherwise you will be overwhelmed with these idiots rather quickly. If you don't have any of these, do not try to conquer the fucking moon. On less dangerous robotic side of things, Rover has the exact same health and high shields which is exactly slightly less than astronauts, also requiring a source of pierce, and lastly on the front of extraterrestrials, Vaggle can turn your summons into more Vaggles and usually spawn in a small group on the one side of the arena. While it is self-explanatory, either kill them before they take a turn if you have a summon heavy build or druids, since they can even turn the crows, or just beat them up with your cats while your summons focus on whatever spawn on the other side of the arena. Moonworm does laughable damage but gains brace 1 each time they are hit, so you should avoid hitting it with low damage AoE spells and usually save them for last. Bee Prober can permacharm a cat until you hit the said cat from the back, which can force you to do a lot of self damage, especially if you have good cats, so they are recommended to be high priority targets. G-Alien, who has counter spells similar to the Brain Drain in caves but exploding in an AoE, you can leave these guys alone for last if you have low cost spammable spells. Otherwise they should be a medium priority. And lastly, Vibe Blasters. These guys shoot at you when you line up with them, and they run away if you are too close. So bringing in a range unit is essential. So far, a Hunter with Mark seems to be extremely useful in this stage. For the mini-boss, you have Abandoned Ones. These fuckers apply a random injury and attack, and after being killed initially will turn into a separate head and body, in where the body will do the exact same injury nonsense. Heads can only inflict burn or fear, so they should be ignored or locked down with melee cats, while your range cats make fast work of the bodies, twice. This fight is either going to leave you with multiple injuries or you are going to damage them down quickly. Marked, especially upgraded, and damage abilities are your friends here. Sentinel and Tower Defense are also good, since they will apply knockback to stop enemies from getting into melee as long as they can't get into your minimum range. Man on the Moon. Before we begin, enjoy the music. Now start narrating this gimmick fight. Man on the Moon has 10 brace by default and spawns 2 hands, which will try to grab your cats, which you will have to struggle out of. If you manage to hit a hand, it will first face on the opposite direction of where you hit them, and second will launch them in that direction, doing 20 damage and disabling Man on the Moon's brace for a turn. Having multiple low-cost attacks can quickly end this fight this way. Or you can stack Bruise with Nip or other sources and ignore the hands, or just eat him with each rock. Choice is up to you, whatever build you brought works with it. Aside from this gimmick, Man on the Moon will try to blow everything back with an indicator. If anything is brought to his mod at the stage, it will be eaten and the attack will be cancelled. If you have a lot of cheap summons, you can use that to your advantage. He will also call B probbers when he 25% health, so finishing him off immediately to not deal with the ads once that health is reached is important. Many complaints rise from incapable to do the gimmick or not bringing abilities to bypass it. If you have either, you will be fine. Told you it would get even fucking weirder. Welcome to the land where nothing makes sense, yet makes all the sense at the same time. First of all, these stupid glitchy tiles will start appearing. If you step on them with a cat, your abilities will get randomized for a turn per tile you walked on. Avoid that if your cat abilities are key to your victory. Secondly, every enemy from previous 2 locations can spawn here. Other than that, most enemies are cosmetically different mini-bosses or enemies from previous acts with no boss immunity to insta-kill attacks. Puchan Tink is Boris, Dr. Beanis is Rats, Tracy is a Mega Fetus, Frank is Corby, and Frank Beans is a Pinky. Only different enemies are Jack, who acts like a kitten that also applies 5 shields to allies, and Chaos Stacy, who reflects range attacks, knocks melee attackers back, and applies tile debuffs on your cats. Final boss is 2 phases, and it's basically everything you have seen so far thrown at you. Phase 1 consists of Zodiac reskinned to be Corpse Grinder with Slime as Steven. Only difference is Corpse Grinder will drop a random cat named Gun with base stats and 1 random ability, and smallest Stevens will drop the Tile Hazard. Next in that comes will be Ice. Any cats down near him will be eaten, he will teleport between 2 spots, and swap between 3 forms and use 3 attacks from previous enemies. The forms are as follows: Cerberus form where he will spit lava, Nettle form where he gains thorns, and Host form where he will reflect projectiles. For attacks, Shell replicates Flashmaster's attack, Salmiamagan is reversed Johnny attack, and Spider is the exact same as Throbbing King's attack. He will also self-cleanse very often, so either inflicting stun often or having both melee and range heavy hitters is a requirement to get through this fight easily. Anything else will require a lot of sustain, as most of his attacks hit everyone indiscriminately. Would you look at that? We're at the home stretch. Or Labs, don't click off the video! Lab has support pillars which when destroyed will drop a few basic enemies into the stage, and Lab Vats which can spawn a variety of lab enemies with madness. For recurring enemies, there are many fucking enemies, so let's get through the list. Albino TomTom, Boomer, Cultist Lackey, and Cultist Zealot, Kitten, Leaper, Little Rats, Lumpy, Maggot, Angie, Pinky, Popeye, Robocat, Security Bot, and TomTom. At this stage of the game, your cat should be 1 or 2 shotting these, so do not think about them and let's get to the new enemies. You have Cupbot, which you don't have to kill and will deactivate if you kill everything else. They are like a mini Zodiac with 1 shot, so I personally just ignore them since at this stage of the game you should have perfect cats, and with perfect cats their damage is very negligible. Dr. Cat uses 6 of these spells at random. Once again, not that bad except for being frozen and losing a turn, so they are low priority. Dr. Ditto on the other hand resurrects at the end of the turn if their body isn't destroyed. Try to explode and inflict fear on your units. With their measly 9 health, they can be taken out by just about anyone, and their resurrection only triggers if there are enemies remaining, so they can be ignored until last as well. Gamete on the other hand spawn basic enemies every other turn. If you don't have AoE, they should be killed first, and even if you do, they should be high priority. They can spawn from Infested. What is Infested, you ask? Highest priority enemy. Their attacks can replace a random part with Parasite debuff. You do not want that, so avoid it at all cost. For second highest priority, Stacy. Debuff enemies and charm your cats. Not as bad as a permanent debuff for rest of your run, but still bad. Next up we have Spawn, who has a random class attack and a random debuff assigned to the side attack. What these guys can do is completely random, so I can't exactly command a target prior to or an idea as to what to do. If the debuff they inflict is something simple like poison, you can just not worry too much about them. Or if they're inflicting fucking soulbind, kill them immediately. On the other end of the must-kill spectrum, there is Mega Mutant. They have 26 health and gain 99 brace after being hit once, until it's their turn. Oh, they also can insta-kill anything near them. Stay away from these guys and either abuse multi-hit attacks after your initial hit to ignore the brace, or bring Sentinel or Tower Defense so you hit them on their turn. And finally, we have this dipshit's fucked up experiments, where it's half rat, dog, or human. Rats can give you diseases and charge like normal, so killing them early is a good idea. Half human that's standing can spawn kittens, which is not a big deal of a summon, so they can be left alone until run effect and threats are dead. Half Human has 2 lives, which isn't a big deal, just ignore them until last. And lastly, Dog just jumps at you like a Junkyard boss, also low priority and can be ignored. For mini bosses, we got the final bunch of the classes in boss form. Arthur the Jester does a random spell each turn and keep getting nerfed every fucking patch to not have broken abilities in its random pool. There are no countermeasures aside from hitting him till he dies. Franklin the Tinkerer, who just spawns robots from Tinkerer abilities or equip low damaging items. Main thing to worry about is when low health he will use Mech Suit. Only having 45 health and lower difficulties, you should aim to set up on first round with marked or any debuffs and buffs with small damage. Exact amounts when he uses it is unknown, then just pop him like a fucking balloon, he is on round 2. Draven the Druid spawns with 2 crows and can spawn more allies over time. If you hit him directly, crows will try to attack you. Soulbind and AoE can help you make short work of him, as he is pretty much defenseless once the crows are taken care of. With Perfect Cats, you should be able to bust him and his crones down in 2 rounds. If you don't have chance to do so with your current build, take down all the ads before focusing on Draven. Chan Hong the Monk, while being a bit complicated, is not very difficult to just burst down. He reacts to movement by trying to move towards you, responds to basic attacks, and item usage with Bruise attack that does 3 damage, and reacts to trinket or ability usage by casting Hadouken down a cardinal direction for 8 damage if he can hit you. He just uses basic attack for 3 damage, so their turn can be ignored and have 1 brace and 1 kinetic spikes, so you should avoid multi-hit attacks. Lastly, Alice the Psychic will pull enemies for low damage and inflict bruise as another attack while gaining 1 backflip starting on second round. And if you cast a spell, she knocks you back 10 tiles. With Perfect Cats, you can kill her before she even gains a backflip charge, so focus on high damage attacks and use your basic attack first to avoid being heated away. In final boss list, we have Speaver, who sucks in and eat whoever attacks them for a cardinal direction, and then spit them back out on their turn. You can also forcefully get out by using your basic attack when grabbed, which does the same as your attack damage. While there are pills out in the arena which give them damage, speed, and brace, with a measly 125 health on base difficulty, you can simply ignore the pill popping and instead pop the Speaver by focusing them down in a round or 2 as usual. Lastly, Stacy is the most custom boss ever, since you literally fucking design them before you fight them, or take all stats down and diseases for refusing. Don't be a coward and look into your build. For body, pick Thorns if you have all ranged, or Holy Shield if you have a way to counter it with multi-hits or just pass it with mark spam. Brace is usually not worth it unless your team consists of only high damage dealers with no multi-hits. For elements, anything other than fire is wrong, since fire only deals stacking damage, which you can deal with by just dealing enough damage. Chance to get stunned or frozen is just not worth it. For stats, speed up is usually the way to go, since with no way to stun people, getting to act first isn't that big of a deal. If you have a lot of ways to heal to full, you can instead take damage up, health down. Taking health up is not recommended since you are trying to end the fight as soon as possible. And lastly, for the head, if you have melee, don't pick counter. If you have ranged, don't pick mirror. And if you have at least one of either, just give the bastard 1 more turn. It won't tilt the scales enough to matter. Hi, don't come here with melee only. You will fucking regret it. Anyway, congrats for using a time travel machine. You have 1 random mutation on a random cat now. Have fun finding which one. Starting with Caveman. Caveman baby runs at food pickups and once healed to full turns into a Caveman man. Yeah, for some reason they have Caveman twice and we also have Caveman woman. Makes sense since this entire chapter feels lobotomized. They are not a high priority since even when they turn into a Caveman man, their entire stick is grabbing a spear and throwing it to stun people, so you have plenty of time until then. Entire Caveman group will also actively fight any cat they see regardless of allegiance. Caveman woman on the other hand, who the fuck names these things, man, spawns more Caveman babies. Definitely high priority target with only exception of Caveman Chief, who stuns on attacks, insta-kills cats below 10 health without leaving your body, and also gives stats ups to Cavemans. On the other side of the competition, we have Fuzzers, who just exist and give confusion to things they hit, while getting knocked back when hit. You should be one-shotting them, so that doesn't matter. Mammoth Kitten that knocks enemies back and applies bruise, and Woolly Mammoth who is just a bigger HP Mammoth Kitten. Both of these guys fight Caimans and vice versa, so you should focus the more annoying side for your build. which usually will be humans while they soften up the other side. Next up we have saber-toothed cat and kittens, which are basically buffed up werecats and should be treated as such, except for kitten being able to heal allies and healing them even if they are dead, which wastes their turn and looks very sad. Wereman, which I have not seen once since they can rarely appear when a caveman gets hit by a saber-tooth and turns sides. They have significantly high health, so if one turn, you should focus it instead. Lastly, Yeti and Yeti Cat, latter of which can counter melee attacks and both can inflict freeze. And as usual, we do not like attacks that take turns away, so the priority to kill list they go right below Chieftain. For mini-bosses you have Frostbiter, which you can encounter as early as servers if it's snowing. Similar to their counterpart, they can be instantly killed by Skeletological passive. This guy is mostly AoEs that slow in form of an entire map, a cone, and also freezing in a 3x3 area around it if they start their turn with a cat near them. You can just beat them up, especially since you should have brought at least 2 ranged cats, and entire fight is extremely simple since you can, again, encounter this guy 2 acts ago. On the other side of the mini-bosses, there is the Rock Snows, consisting of Volma, who can heal allies and has a range attack, who should be focused first, Poobles, who throws traps everywhere, which is fine for a while, we have a lot of range attacks, but should be killed before they can cover the entirety of the map. And lastly, Fraud, who is just tanky and walks at you to do a cleave attack that can stun. Disable or lock this guy down with your tank while you work through the other 2. Fraud will gain 2 brace per family member slain, but since his damage output is so low, you can just simply deal with 4 brace. While other family members also have buffs when they lose health, I will just put them on the screen briefly since I really do not recommend doing a different order. For the boss, we have Lord Bunga. He spawns with 2 of his champions who are just reskinned and buffed up versions of cavemans, so deal with them by either bogging them down near your tanks and focus them, and Lord Bunga either gets off his chair when you kill both of them or when he gets to half health. So if you don't have an extremely high damage build, I recommend dealing damage to Lord Bunga without hitting the half health threshold. Then kill his champions, then deal with him as he's an absolute beast. His regular attack, Smash, is a 2x2 that inflicts bruise and give a concussion to your cat, which is a -1 intelligence permanently. Inflicts slow on all units and also counters all attacks from the front. As if that wasn't annoying enough, he will grab and instantly kill anyone standing next to him when it's his turn, except for his back, so melee units will be in extreme danger, and it should be up to your ranged cats to take him out. One important thing is that you can ignore one champion to resurrect him with Eternal Servitude. Considering how broken his instant kill is, you can bring him to kill even the final boss. It's not an Edmund game without Hitler, so welcome to the future where Germans turned Nazi have taken over. Kind of a funny mistake considering the team auto balance the world seems to be having right now. Anyway, let's get to the enemies. And make sure you bring a lot of melee and armor pierce here. You have been warned. Enemies split into robots and humans with a cat for the regular fights. For humans, you have Uberman and Uberwoman, both of which reflect all projectiles, because fat jokes are very fucking funny, I guess. Ubercat, which is the same thing in the cat form, where they reflect all projectiles, so you use melee and ignore them until last, since they don't have much or do much damage either. I don't know what else to tell you. Crookhead, which can grant allies extra turns, they are immune to instant kills for whatever reason, and have high armor, so armor pierce or leeches will help you a lot. Consider resurrecting these guys to get your own extra turns. Fetus Jar, which is immune to all magic damage and status effects, and again low health with shield, so anything piercing will make short work of them. And they have a weak multi-hit attack. On death, they will turn into Darfotus, which does the exact same attack, but will call an airstrike upon death if it had a chance to be low health, which will hit the location at the end of the turn. Deal with them as you wish, they aren't exactly tanky. On the other side of the robots, we have Shoot Spot, which is the same as a cop-out from Lab but stronger. Since they gain 3 bullets and a backflip when taking their turn, they should be taken down with piercing damage since they only have 8 health and 20 armor. Similar to every robot enemy you will see, so I won't repeat myself, if you want to kill robots, bring piercing damage in the form of high leech builds or marked. It will help you a lot. And just to contradict my statement, the only robot without armor, Shitpost, bot will have 5 health and 1 damage attacks. Can be ignored for last or killed with AoE while hitting other enemies. Katzebot will focus your lowest health target with 6 health and 12 armor. Depending on who that is, take it out before they can get there or ignore them until they get close enough. Heavily depends on your draft. Bot, also known as why do you have 20 fucking Reddit posts per day complaining about you, will give an extra turn to another robot. If there is more than one of these fuckers, they can gain infinite number of turns, so obviously they will be number 1 priority if there is more than one. Otherwise, they can make you unable to cast abilities similar to web debuff, but for abilities, and give another turn to enemies, which you can take out in a turn anyway. Bot will either charge an attack that hits next turn or stun a cat next to it if there's a cat next to it. Avoid getting in melee and usual use piercing. Bot, which just does this, but they have 1 health, so just pop them with piercing damage. And lastly, Bot, which gives a stat up and cleanses debuffs from enemies while spawning more spider bots. These guys will spawn with human enemies, so focusing them first is ideal. For your mini bosses, we have Zaphaza. They will leave the arena and prepare a checker pattern attack whenever they are hit, so simply reserve only high damage attacks on it and avoid anything that does small damage with low mana, and you will honestly be fine. Dr. Mangler, on the other hand, will spawn with a monster which they will rush down a lane at the end of their turn. Any damage dealt to Mangler will also make him change directions. Aside from how easy it is to kill him, the monster will also die once he dies, so just focus Mangler while making him not hit your cats with the monster. He does 13 damage, which isn't that bad, but getting hit more than once will make it hard to recover for the final boss. And the final boss, of course, Hitler. He will quickly grow the fetuses, so you should take care of as many as you can before his turn, then bring them below 15 health, in which case he will execute them. Hitler has a lot of armor. Again, piercing damage is very important to bring to hurry up the fight. However, without clones to buff, he only does 5 fucking damage per shot, which is laughably small for an end area boss. So as long as the adds are handled, this one should be. And he killed himself for hitting 50 health. You can either hide behind things to dodge it or kill him with piercing damage. If he explodes, the nuke deals 50 damage and destroys any corpse, so you shouldn't try to tank it. One big pro tip I can give you for this fight is to leave one clone alive, then kill Hitler, followed by using Eternal Servitude on him, as this will allow us to enact the final solution in heaven. Welcome to the easier part of the past, somehow. This is the part where Hunter will truly shine, and you should try to get Sentinel Plus or Tower Defense Plus as soon as possible. You have Dyna eggs which spawn raptor kittens and usually have raptors in the stage when these guys are present. They will take their time to coordinate an attack on a cat and have a lot of multi-hit in their attacks, so you should aim to eliminate the eggs, then all of them as soon as possible. And also, raptor kittens will run away after attacking, giving them even more use to the hunter. Ankylosaurus is a slow giant guy that has an AoE and stun in melee. As it is with past stages, take your range and shoot him down. Since they move 2 tiles a turn, you can ignore them for last and take out the more mobile targets first. Melee-estes, which are just 6 health idiots that will steal your equipment, so if you are wearing anything, they will strip you with no morals like the dipshits using rock. This makes them prime first targets to kill if you have anything worthwhile on you, and even if you don't, kill them anyways for the things they have done. Parasaurolophus, and if you spell that name right on first try, you belong on a spectrum, just like me. It's a slow idiot unless there is water, in which case they get infinite movement. If you're wet, they will also land a critical hit every single time. Insert joke about sex and being wet here. Kill them if there is water, ignore them otherwise. Prehistoric Pooter, which has a stun on their attack and a range, so they should either be taken out, or if they spawn on the other side of the arena like they tend to do, ignore them until they are close. Pterodactyls try to pick up your cats and have a sizable health pool. Either let it mess around with your tankiest cat and ignore them, or pick them off before they can get close. Stegosaurus will move to grass and eat it to heal, and can counterattack when hit from the back. This can either be used to hit other enemies, or realistically should just be hit by range and killed last, as they spend 90% of their time being a prehistoric cow. Triceratops counters every attack by charging the target if they can, so you should ideally ignore them due to their low speed, then take them out with diagonal strikes since they can only charge in the cardinal directions. T-Rex, which always attacks the unit that damaged it last and instantly kills them by eating them. They can also inflict immobile, so do not try to go melee against them unless you can kill them before it's their turn. They also make perfect Eternal Servitude targets, and lastly, Tar Baby. These guys slow everyone down with Tar and die instantly to fire attacks, which makes sense because they're made of Tar. However, they have 9 fucking health, just hit them once. It's 3 part of the acts, you should be able to do 9 damage. For mini bosses, there's only one, Dino Lovers. Shut the fuck up, there's only one encounter. Whenever you attack one, other one will walk towards who hit it. As usual, this is perfect for Hunter, Sentinel, and Tower defense and should be used against them. They also have a high pool of armor, so bringing piercing abilities or just mark will help out a ton. Their damage is pretty negligible unless they get close enough to each other to trample you often and gang up on a cat. So pick and focus one down. Once you do, if it's the male one, he will gain more strength per turn and female will get fire diarrhea. Apparently, spawning poop enemies and setting stuff on fire. Neither of these are threatening, but spawnable enemies will again be killed instantly by Sentinel Plus or Tower Defense, so spawns are preferable. Moving to the final boss, he has 4 feet, which will move at whatever damages them to try to stump them, then attempt to stump whatever is closest when it's their turn. You only need to kill 2 of these, so focus on whichever spawn closest to your cats, and once again Sentinel Plus and Tower Defense Plus will come in handy to dish out a lot of damage. Once you defeat 2 of them, his head will fall and be stunned, and he will take his turn last. This means you have whatever much turn you have still left, plus 1 another turn to deal as much damage as you can to him. Since the falling animation is considered spawning, you can also get a free hit off with Hunter. Repeat as much as necessary or use the cheese of insta-kill enemies such as T-Rex or Lord Bunga to kill 2 feet permanently to force it to fall instantly every single time it respawns. Now, how do we top Hitler? No, not in that way, it's an NDS9 reference. Spiderling and fly swarms from previous stages are here again. Other enemies are either demonic looking or tumorous. On the demonic side of things, you have heralds, which can spawn 1 health adds. They can mostly be ignored if you have any AoE, Sentinel, or Tower defense, which will instantly kill any adds. They do have 30 health, so do keep in mind that they are tanky. Heraldess, on the other hand, will put fear on anyone who hits her, making her low priority on priority list, especially if you have mostly melee draft. Shade Cat, which is a reverse kitten, where you run instead when hit. They will also crit on back and apply fear, which can disrupt your turns a lot, and considering some of the other enemies that can insta-kill you and give you permanent debuffs, these guys should be highest priority if there are multiple of the said enemies, or 1 lower priority if there is only 1. Last demon enemy, Gorger, is basically a data shark buffed up to have more health and also moving 5 more movements after initial 1 movement. While they can't attack after 5 movement, they are still extremely dangerous and also ridiculously good Eternal Servitude targets. They should be focused first, especially if you have a cat taking their turn after they do. Next up is tumor enemies. Starting with Cancer Cat, they inflict a permanent -1 constitution and can inflict cancer debuff. However, they only have 8 health and 10 shield, so you should just use marked or leech builds to take them out instantly. These guys are your top targets at each fight if they exist. Just be aware of Shade Cats potentially pushing you into them, so if there is both, weigh your options as to which one you should take out without risking a hit from it. Edema instead has a few turns before turning into a husk, which can also spawn normally in the stage and turn into an edema. They don't do enough damage to matter and are basic enemies with some shields and low health. Leave them for last. Conjoined Husk can pick up cats and create copies of it, considering your cats probably being the most broken thing in the game by this point. You do not want that. They have 20 health and 20 armor, so you should again use piercing attacks. Slag, which should be ignored until last since they spawn enemas when damaged by melee and fly swarms when damaged by ranged, and can inflict bruise on its attacks. Depending on if you can clear the board in a round or 2, either lay them for last or take them out before bruise stacks up too much. This depends on your build, and for the final tumor enemy, Floast, they have a range attack that can pull like a meat hook and a melee attack, so they can attack twice a turn, and can also summon flies. Their attack and summons are lackluster, so they can be ignored until last. For the last 2 enemies, they don't fit a category. Gaspers takes another turn to explode and basically just feel like a stage hazard that you have to kill that can be ignored until last. And finally, the Collective is a bunch of cats with 19 health that counter-attack and attack together. Take them out with range and stay away from them to make sure your melee cats don't get attacked multiple times around. Hi Binding of Isaac players, hi lazy madman, did you think this was your safe space? Fuck you, here is Bloat as a mini-boss. Don't worry though, you can usually cheese it with high damage, just like in Binding of Isaac. Bloat jumps to a space and damages and pushes away any cat nearby and can also shoot sideways and below if you pass it, applying bleed. He will spawn a peeper at 80 and 40%, which will move one tile towards your cats whenever they use any action including basic attack and movement. This fight mostly comes down to dealing high damage in as little actions as possible after the eyes come out, so take the start of the fight as a chance to apply as much mark, bruise and status effects as you can with abilities while you are not under the risk of being pushed around and damaged. That's honestly it, that's it for the fight. Finally, the Mother fight. You really should bring AoE abilities and really consider having Sentinel or Tower Defense upgraded by this point. She will spawn tentacles around her which will propagate randomly while also occasionally spawning pillars that have thorns on your farthest cat. The tentacles can tie down your cats and force out your basic attack and die off if they are not connected to the Mother, so cutting deeper ones will cause further ones to die. Mother is also a gigantic 3x3 boss, so as mentioned, any AoE will not only help you cut down the tentacles but also potentially hit her 9 times per turn. At 25% health, she will turn any remaining pillars into heralds, so you should either have a plan in place to kill them when they spawn or just call the pillars regularly. With any resemblance of AoE, this fight should go by very quickly, so honestly just bring a hunter with Sentinel, Tower Defense, Rubber Bullets or Scatter Shot and you will be fine. Also, despite looking like she has no corpse, crater she leaves is considered a corpse and can be resurrected for further boss shenanigans. Welcome to heaven. No, you didn't die, we're invading. Hope you brought your Hitler or Lord Bunga to experience the definition of becoming ungovernable. First of all, somehow Boneworm, both station types, Reaper, Skeleton Shambler, Spooky and Tall Skeleton Cat were accepted to heaven. Have fun interpreting that, lore people. Just what sort of religion are we working with here, anyway. Secondly, just about every enemy here has Holy Shield. Shields or both, so Pierce is extremely important as usual. They are also immune to holy damage, so your Cleric won't be doing any damage with most spells. While keeping those in mind, Seraphim will try to resurrect allies, so either clean up dead bodies or kill them on high priority. They have 4 stacks of Holy Shield. Gatekeeper, who should be your #1 priority every fight, will go after the cat with lowest health and instantly kill it while reducing their health by 8 permanently and gaining 8 himself. He only has 10 health but sports 20 shield, so once again piercing damage is required. You should also consider using Eternal Servitude on them to bring them to the final fight, but be wary, they can still target your cats if there are no targets left. They do have Brace 1 and can summon more allies, but since you should be killing them on turn 1 at all costs, these should not matter. Cherubim on the other hand will leave the fight once damaged and slam down to where attacker is when it's their turn. They can grant even more Holy Shield to their allies, so you should consider focusing them early if you, for some reason, didn't bring any Pierce. You should take them down right after Gatekeepers. Angelic Cats having 30 HP and gaining more Holy Shield every turn while also inflicting blind, again, should require you to bring piercing damage. Leave these guys for dead last except for the next enemy. They can also get an all stat up if you hit them with Holy, but why would you do that? Lastly, Angelic Kitten. When you kill these guys, you will get Doom 2. They inflict poison 5 and do no damage. These guys should be your dead last unless you have a way to cleanse the Doom. Welcome to the final fight, inspired by every other JRPG in the market. We will be fighting God. Fight consists of 3 phases. In phase 1, we will be beating the dead horse even further by making you fight your own worst enemy, yourself. Ooh. No really, you will fight a dead fight. On regular difficulty they will not have items, but on higher difficulties they will, just as something to consider before the fight. Second of all, they get summoned after the combat starts, so any ability that affects enemies at the start of combat won't affect them, while their exact same passive will affect you. Do not bring Necromancer passive that insta-kills an enemy here, you will absolutely regret it. Depending on your build, what you do will vary the most, but you will always take the turn before the Ditto Cat does, so you will have the advantage of first strike. Take advantage of that by killing your copy or focusing down your damage dealers if your damage dealers are not the fastest of the group. And do not worry if a cat or two goes down, just make sure they do not get perma-killed. We will get to why later. This can happen if you have a lot of AoE built in or hit the dipshit on the throne, which will cause him to knock back everything, causing corpse damage. Once you finished off your copies, we get to phase 2. If you have the Pretty Bow, you can insta-kill God by attacking him with whoever's wearing it. If you don't have the setting or have multiple cats on the ground, it's survival time. At the end of every round, he will cast Rise, resurrecting all of your down cats to half health. During first halt of the fight, he will be immune to attacks from the front, and whenever targeted, will turn to face them. This makes applying debuffs very unreliable, so you should avoid using marked or similar setup abilities. He will also throw his shield occasionally, instantly killing a cat, which can only be dodged with abilities like backflip or blocked by Holy Shield. But worry not, since he spams Resurrection every round, that's basically a potentially forced round skip, and -1 to a random stat. You can destroy the shield by following this complicated pattern or simply continue damaging him. He will also cast Holy Blast, which will go off on the next turn, and any damage done will knock everyone back by 1, as long as they are getting hit in the AoE. Getting killed by this will kneel nobody, so you do your best to dodge it. And also you can hit him in the front still, for some reason. Once you break the shield or lower him to half health, he will go into what I call Krita mode. He will dodge the first 4 attacks with backflip and start casting the same attack from part 1 once, losing all backflip charges, and gaining 4 more after casting it. If not attempting to cast the attack, they will charge and hit for 5 times, which you ideally want to avoid letting him do so. Using AoE attacks will allow you to both land a hit while exhausting backflip charges, or can be bait into traps, or you can use low mana, low damage attacks to remove his charges. Aside from that, you won't be getting more freebie resurrections once this phase ends, so make sure everyone is up and ready for the final phase. For the final phase, boss will leave its child, baby, fetus, whatever thing is. Look, I make video game guides, and we literally brought Hitler and a caveman to fight God. Stop thinking about it. Boss itself will instead turn into a background asset and will push you around at the end of rounds. Child has 3 distinct phases and will trigger its attack every time it's hit 7 times in total. So focus your heavy attacks only and try to avoid low mana small attacks. Marked will come in especially handy here. In red phase, each time a child is hit, it will summon a cross pattern AoE above the cat that damaged it. Once it reaches 0, attack will be released. In blue phase, it will move towards the cat that damages it, which can be abused with Sentinel or Tower Defense to hit it more often. Once this phase reaches 0, it will knock everything in the arena back, and finally on yellow phase, where everything in the child's line of sight will be evaporated for 12 damage. You can deal with this by putting your tanky cat between the boss and your squishies, use summons, or when the background asset fucker bashes the arena, several cherubims will fall in the arena, which can also be used. However, many things including knockback from the background asset, knockback from blue phase and similar can destroy the corpses. So having a plan to deal with yellow phase will be crucial, since you will be taking damage from knockbacks guaranteed. This fight is a damage race. As long as you're not losing cats outright, you shouldn't shy away from taking damage from red and yellow phase. With that, congrats! You have beaten Mewgenics. Just kidding. We still have house bosses to cover, so strap in. If you got this far, you should already know what a house boss is, but for people who just skip to this part, house bosses should be fought with cats you already sent out on a mission, so for this part it won't be roguelite rules of this is good, you can get it, that can be nice. Instead, I will give you a build that can easily beat the boss you're facing with sometimes easy to get items. Yes, there are multiple answers to bosses, but I'm already 40 pages into the fucking script, so I will just go for one. Welcome to the introduction house fight. As this is supposed to get you introduced to the house fights, there isn't much to fear. Biggest issue with this fight is you won't have access to everything yet and probably won't have perfect cats. Aim for mobility or ways to get to your tank back into the fight, as she will throw cats around very often. I recommend bringing 2 tanks, either 2 Necromancers or 2 tanks or one of each with at least 1 mobility spell, such as Shadow Step or Bodyguard, and 2 hunters with marked and any damage spells you can fit. For items, again, this will be early game. Bring whatever to make your tanks tankier and your damage dealers higher damage dealing. For what Guillotina does, it's a mouthful if we go into the entire list. Only thing you need to keep in mind is that if she swallows a cat, she will hit it for 5 damage non-stop, and if they are close to death, she can digest and eat them to heal 25 health, which she will only start once reaching her second phase, which happens when she hits half health, and she will heal 50 HP and gain 100 max health. Since you will have the max possible level you push for cats, which you can force by doing solo or double runs, don't let these high numbers scare you. You will be fine. Just as the first house fight, this one is also here to mostly test your capabilities. Think of it like a tutorial but trial by fire style. You need to deal with a very slow moving but hard hitting body while dealing with a 3-turn taken head that does slightly less damage and disrupts your cats. You most likely won't have perfect cats yet as usual, so we will use a safe approach with whatever you have unlocked with 2 tanks and 2 damage dealers, preferably hunters. Use the tank with more self-sustain, preferably a Necromancer, to lock down the body, since it does 8 damage as long as you put 8 leeches on it. You can tank it indefinitely. For this, preferably we will want numbing leeches and leeches ability. Head, on the other hand, can pull in a cat in a 3-tile radius, pick up and throw cats to the body, and apply a piercing attack that can stun. Since we don't want our damage dealers near the body in the beginning, again, recommend running 2 hunters and a tank with mobility spells so they can get to the head immediately, such as to the rescue to jump next to one of your hunters and get back to tanking it. Reason why we are using a tank instead of a Necromancer is not only does the head take 3 turns, being stunned will make it significantly longer to establish high enough leeches to heal back all the damage. Since killing the body first makes it a chaotic indestructible hazard that the head can use, we will be killing the head first, hence why our hunters are focusing it down first. Once the head dies, body will take 2 turns, scaling up to 16 damage a round, but that should hardly matter. Your other tank on the other hand should weigh their options. If they are critically hurt, retreat them and only use your Necromancer and 2 hunters. Body also gains an ability of throwing trash all over the arena, potentially inflicting damage on your squishier damage dealers and potentially critically damaged tank. But with leech stack alongside 2 hunters should make short work of it before you need to worry about it. Don't worry, the next stack bosses won't be the same fucking enemy 3 times in a row. Guillotina 3 will spawn a Mama Maggot at start of phase 3, and overall is a very chaotic fight where the big mechanic is keeping the head and body separated, otherwise suffer stack and bruise, poison and hex. For this fight we will be bringing 3 Hunter squad with Sentinel plus or Tower Defense plus, with higher preference on Tower Defense plus. Otherwise make sure you have 11 intelligence to generate 11 mana per turn, as we will also be bringing Mark to make short of work of enemies. Place them in the range of the body between the head and make sure you stay at max possible range and reposition if needed. This will allow you to not only instantly attack Mama Maggot when they spawn, but will also most likely kill any ads she and the body spawns. For a 4th cat we will bring attack with knockback abilities. Their entire job will be first repositioning the head to a better spot and then continuously bully the body away from the head. Better up or any items that give you more knockback is very preferable to bring here. For attacks, the head will sit still and occasionally spit a random prisoner on a nearby cat, which will be instantly killed by tower defense, so aside from 5 damage you shouldn't worry. The body on the other hand will spawn a Mama Maggot at 250 HP, lose 130 health and then heal 100 health back. Wow, health polar ass boss. While trampling cats and trying to get to the head and potential spawning maggots. One other thing to note is that Mama Maggot can give extra turns to the body, so she should be top priority once she spawns. Welcome to Act 2. If you felt like previous bosses were holding your hand, strap in you little shit, we are just getting started. Pyrophina is all about fire damage. Aside from the fire, she will only do 5 damage. Since she can spawn lava tiles around the edges and push your cats into them, we have 2 approaches to this fight. Sustain in the form of Cleric with clans, immunity in the form of Fire Respect or water abilities to remove fire to slowly work your way through her, or just bring in high damage draft with enough health to focus her down before the fire stacks up. As long as you have the fire debuff covered, she only does 5 damage a turn, so I generally don't have any big advice for her. Just bring anything that can deal with fire or bring a very high damage draft and you will be fine. She's a rock. We are eating her. No really, bring 4 tanks with Eat Rock Plus and eat her to death. If you wanna try to fight without cheesing, though, you can use Thou Shall Not Kill with Summon Spam and make her kill herself.
Do it again.
Fighting the next two house bosses legitimately is a pain, so we will be chasing them heavily. C800 will deal insane amounts of damage with melee attacks when you cast a spell or end their turn next to him while also stunning them. Aside from that, he can throw grenades, which will explode once it's the grenade's turn, a sniper rifle for high damage single target, shotgun for even more close range damage as if he didn't have enough damage in melee, and lastly he has 50 brace but loses a stack of it whenever he is hit. To cheese this, we will be bringing in one Necromancer with Bloodletting. Rest of their spells don't matter as they will likely die afterwards, alongside 3 Hunters with Tower Defense Plus or Sentinel Plus with Marked. Yes, this combo is the answer to most bullshit. Are you able to tell yet, Weaver? We will also bring a low-cost spell on them, which can be anything you find, but this step isn't necessary. For combat, we will place our Hunters at max range of C800 and use our Necromancer to remove all of his brace. As he only has 250 health and you definitely should have perfect cats by now, you should be able to make short work of him by forcing him to move towards your Hunters by first marking him and then using cheap abilities to force him to move. This fucker will copy your cats and has 100% dodge while also moving next to your cats if they even dare to move, while also being able to remove all debuffs if he does touch your cat to copy it. 100% dodge and copying your broken cats is extremely annoying to deal with, hence why we will be cheesing the shit out of him with 4 Hunters. Make sure you have Tower Defense Plus and Sentinel Plus alongside Marked. We also need at least 1 Hunter to be equipped with Superhero Mask. We will then immediately put our cats into a pile together as far away as from C1000. Now just apply Marked whenever it gets in range to ignore the 100% dodge chance, and Superhero Mask will knock it away whenever it tries to get in ranged. You should move very little or not move at all, as it can dash through your ranged and get on top of your cats. He's back. Again. Anyway, this is probably the hardest fight in the game, and has one of the most annoying abilities in existence in the form of none other than motherfucking Pebbles, the tutorial boss. Remember when he just killed one of your cats instantly? I heavily recommend bringing all tanky cats and a way to recover alongside your best sustain items. You should also bring attacks that can pierce shields, as you will be fighting all robots, and Robot Marshmallow will also have Holy Shield as well. For this fight, I personally recommend 4 Necromancers focused on basic attack spam. Having mutations that apply debuffs are a true blessing to have, and since my cats have Leech Eyes and Mount, they apply 3 leeches by default as a Necromancer. To achieve this build, we will have Numbing Leeches Plus and Leech Mother. With my mutations, this results in 9 leeches, 3 mana leeches, while also spawning 3 leech familiars. We will then take advantage of this mana gain by using Replace to not only gain a net 2 positive per basic attack, but also basic attack as many times our Charisma mana cap allows per turn. For our other abilities, we will be bringing Soul Link to make our way through phase 1 faster. Other 2 ability slots can be whatever you want to bring, and same goes for itemization, but bringing catnips to require no initial setup time is extremely beneficial. And so is anything else that can allow you to inflict further debuffs from basic attacks, as they will be multiplied by 3 as well. For how we will be approaching this fight and what is in this fight, you will first fight every single cat mini-boss in a robot form. They will have the exact same abilities, but since they are robots, they will be treated as such for lightning damage and have a lot of armor. Robo Pebbles have the instant kill attack, as you remember from tutorial, so our main focus will be to instantly kill it as soon as it spawns, alongside Robo Marshmallow, who can easily get a cat killed considering how much leech or cats can inflict every turn. On the roadblock to this plan is Robo Maisie, who will protect other Robo Cats. Since cats spawn in random order, you might get unlucky with initial spawns with any 2 of these. For this reason alone, you should consider bringing speed items, since we already have initial mana needed to cover with catnip. If it's not possible to kill them before they take a turn, ensure your cats are not in the range to be affected for a charm from Marshmallow, and avoid damaging Pebbles until you can one turn cure them, as one hit attack is only cast once they are damaged enough. For Maisie, you have no other choice unless you brought Soul Link. Take her down first. For any cat specific strategies, you can refer back to their flesh counterparts in the guide, but you should be fine as long as you can kill them all with them taking one turn at most. Once you finish them up, in comes Hitler 3, who is the exact same as Hitler 2 with one difference. He is actually Edmund Macmillan. No, I'm just kidding. They are best friends instead. Hitler 3 will teleport around the arena and instantly kill anything that is in melee. This is the second part as to why we brought the Leech Familiar build, as by now there should be no tiles for that fucker to teleport to, and he will be stuck killing leeches in melee until you take him down. Avoid getting into melee with him and you can take him down with ease. This will start a gruesome victory lap where you will have to slowly butcher him down and gain infinite adrenaline. Hey, this is the outro Teemo. This video took around 1.5 months to make, and I genuinely enjoyed every second of creating this thing, really. I genuinely love to create dumb stuff like this and would like to do it more, so please consider subscribing, telling your friends about the videos, and overall tickle the algorithm in a good way. I should have more coming out soon, so for now, take care, hope to see you again soon.